Hey guys, tonight we wake up in the cool, humid arms of a hidden cave nestled on Crete's slopes, a place so obscured that even your GPS would throw up its hands in defeat. You're enveloped by the earthy scent of limestone and the faint glow of phosphorescent moss tickles your vision like a nightlight with attitude. I mean, you probably wouldn't survive 5 minutes. Maybe you could if you invented portable thunder protection, but let's just say cable TV is out of the question. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe button, only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You shift on the damp floor as tendrils of cool air wind through the chamber. It's brushing against your skin like invisible caresses. The ground beneath feels smoother than polished marble, a reminder of how meticulously the Minoan civilization thrived on Crete between approximately 2700 and 1420 BCE. A faint drip echoes somewhere far above you, timed almost perfectly, like a percussive beat in an ancient ritual you didn't know you were part of. The walls glisten with tiny mineral deposits that reflect the faint phosphor glow, creating the illusion of airborne stars whispering secrets across the rocky expanse as you push yourself upright. Your fingers graze a curious wall, carving-shaped, like a spiral vortex. Fun fact, archaeologists once uncovered a hollowed stalactite that may have been used as a primitive musical instrument to amplify sound. It's an eccentric curiosity that suggests early cave musicians might have jammed here. Long before amphitheaters existed, a low rumble vibrates through the stone, and you feel it register in your chest as if someone just turned up the volume on nature's subwoofer. Your heart begins to pick up pace when you notice subtle patterns in the rock formations. Shadows flicker and morph like absorbed memories of storms past. Historians still debate whether these patterns are the result of seismic tremors during volcanic eruptions or deliberate carvings by stonesmiths seeking to honor deities of weather. Either way, there is an undeniable energy coursing through the cavern. You rise to your feet, brushing off bits of silty sand that cling to your legs. A cool breeze drifts through a narrow fissure ahead, carrying hints of sea salt and thyme from Bruofshorlinza, scent so crisp it's almost translucent. You follow the air, footsteps silent on the smooth stone floor. Each breath you take vibrates against your eardrums in a comforting, near-inaudible hum. Like a lullaby that only the earth can sing, the ceiling arches high above, dotted with glossy stalactites that look like ancient chandeliers waiting to be lit. In the flickering glow of bioluminescent fungi, you catch glimpses of moisture beating on their tips before plummeting into shallow pools below. The water's surface shimmers with prismatic reflections that dance across your vision and make you momentarily dizzy as if you've been whisked inside a kaleidoscope. You pause beside a pool and dip a fingertip into the cool, clear water. The sensation tickles like a gentle electric current crawling up your skin, an odd but strangely pleasant jolt. A soft whisper of excitement thrums through your veins. You realize this cave feels alive, as if it's been waiting for you. It's almost as though the rock remembers your name. A tiny spark flickers at the joint of your finger and thumb, so brief you might think it a trick of the light. When you glance back at the pool, you swear its ripples form concentric circles without a single drop disturbing its surface. You lean closer, heart thrumming louder than the echoing drips, and that's when you sense the cave itself holding its breath, as if keen to see what you will do next. You decide to flex your fingers, you clench and extend them, and in the briefest instant, you summon a miniature flash that dances across the cave walls like a malfunctioning phone flashlight. A giggle bubbles up in your throat. You didn't know your digits doubled as emergency lighting? The sudden brightness etches every stalagmite into crisp relief, and you catch sight of ancient petroglyphs dancing in the illuminated alcove figures swirling like modern graffiti tags. Etched centuries ago by hands now long gone. That once exhilarating and disquieting, your body seems to have awakened before your mind can catch up, deep in the stillness. A distant thunderclap rolls across the mountainside, a reminder of forces grander than mortal concerns. You feel a thrill of recognition this cave isn't just stone, It's a cradle for elemental power, humming softly as if waiting for its rightful heir. You draw a slow breath, and the air shimmers around you, as though charged with tiny sparks. You can almost see. Your pulse syncs with the cave's rhythm, and for a moment, you picture yourself standing atop the highest peak, thunderbolts arching from your fingertips. Whether this vision is prophecy or daydream, only time will tell, but the cave seems to lean in closer, eager to reveal its next secret. You taste the metallic temps of excitement on your tongue, like biting into a lemon-flavored flashbulb. Your breath comes easier now, okay? Each inhalation feels like a gentle charge coursing through your veins. In this moment, you realize something profound. This cavern is more than a hiding place, it's the birthplace of your destiny. Asterisk, you spring lightly from the damp cave floor. Arms outstretched like a child testing the wind's mood. Tiny eddies swirl around your ankles before rising to tickle your elbows and shoulders. Each gust feels alive, weaving through the air as if eager to play, teasing you with soft whooshes that slip between your fingers like mischievous sprites. The cavern walls amplify the whispers, turning every exhale into an intimate concert, and you find yourself chasing these airy wraiths with a grin that stretches ear to ear. It's almost playful enough to make you forget the darker powers you've barely awakened. As you pivot, the breeze responds in a dance of its own making, curling around your hair and tugging at your tunic with gentle insistence. You brush your hand sideways, and a swirl of cool air follows your movement so precisely it's like controlling a rogue drone minus the GPS signal whining in your ear. The air tastes faintly metallic, carrying hints of ozone that prick your tongue with a promise of storms to come. You inhale deeply. Each breath vibrates against the back of your throat, leaving a soothing hum that resonates with your heartbeat. Below you, the smooth stone floor feels like a memory of ancient craftsmanship, reminding you of how the Minoans developed sophisticated urban plumbing systems more than 3,500 years ago to channel water through palace courts, a level of engineering that would make modern plumbers blush. Historians still debate whether those early channels were primarily practical or part of ceremonial purification rituals tied to the worship of water deities. Either way, the thought humbles you as your foot grazes a shallow groove carved long before your arrival. Beyond the factual marvels, there's an eccentric curiosity tucked into these winds. Archaeologists uncovered clay whistles shaped like birds and dolphins in nearby chambers, likely used by Minoan children to mimic animal calls during festivals. It's oddly comforting to think that, just like you, someone long ago delighted in simple games of sound, even if they didn't quite have the luxury of electric squeak toys or smartphone ringtones. Your laughter echoes against the stalactites as you leap and pivot, weaving between gusts that seemingly anticipate your next move. The cave hums around you, the phosphorescent moss reflecting each flash of motion like a techno-rave from a forgotten age. You imagine sharing TikTok-worthy footage of this breeze ballet? It's complete with slow-mo and catchy background music though. Honestly, no trending hashtag can capture the weightless exhilaration you feel now. A momentary pause finds you at the cavern's heart, where the wind settles into a gentle swirl, as if waiting for your command. You stretch both arms overhead and twist on your heel. Instantly, the air spirals upward, lifting loose grains of sand in miniature twisters. The sensation tingles across your palms like an ancestral handshake from the cave itself. You can't help but grin at this point, if you could record your face. It would go viral simply for the sheer joy of being you, less someone with 5 million subscribers, and more an unfiltered, unplugged version, the swirling eddies catch. Strands of bioluminescent moss from the walls, stirring them into soft, glowing currents that drift lazily around your legs. Each little light pulsates in rhythm with your own pulse, like fireflies in a jar set free. You perk up your ears to catch the faint drip of water droplets earlier. You thought it was a static beat, but now it feels like nature's metronome. Keeping perfect time with your playful choreography, this spontaneous performance reminds you of the spark you kindled at your fingertips just a short while ago, the one that lit the cave walls in brief, electrifying flashes. Back then, it felt like a fluke. Now, you sense the breeze listens for your cues, translating your unspoken desires into movement. It's less accidental storm magic and more windy coworker, eager to collaborate on your next masterpiece. You nudge a swirl of air toward the pool where water beads still shimmer like a constellation of raindrops, and the surface cracks in concentric rings without a single drop falling, as if applauding your direction. Asterisk. You pass beneath the fissure in the ceiling, where moonlight squeaks in as slender beams, revealing swirling motes of dust that dance like cosmic snowflakes. Each grain moves through the beam in slow, graceful loops, like tiny galaxies rotating. Miniature, you reach up, fingers brushing the beam if only your hand could scoop up the moon itself. The dance mesmerizes you longer than the breezes, and you wonder if the cave stores cosmic memories in every speck of sediment. Finally, you stretch, feeling a residual tingle run from your fingertips to your toes, a gentle electric aftershock that whispers of untapped potential. It's as if each breath you draw has imprinted itself on the air, leaving subtle ripples your body will crave again. You pause, smile curling on your lips, because you know this was no mere game. It was your first lesson in command, a rehearsal for the storms you'll soon summon with confidence. With that, you take a slow step toward the cave's deeper heart. Eager for the next adventure, slowly, you lower your arms and the winds dissipate, drifting back into hidden crevices with reluctant softness. A final swirl caresses your cheek like a tender farewell. You close your eyes and feel the last breeze sigh against your skin, leaving behind a cool tingle that sings of potential. In that silence, you sense the cave exhaling in return, settling back into its unspoken lullaby. Your chest rises and falls in a calm cadence. Hey! And for a moment, there is nothing but the steady drip-drip of water and the quiet hum of stone and air. You know the breezes will be waiting for you when you return, ready for the next round of playful games? With a gentle smile, you turn toward the crack of light that first showed you the sky, its anticipation coiling like a spring in your core, beginning to understand that every gust, every ripple, is a rehearsal for something far greater. The power you were born to command. Asterisk, asterisk, you sink back on your heels, tilting your head until your neck protests like a curious cat stretching for a toy. Through the narrow fissure overhead, you spy a pale canvas of sky. It's vibrant with drifting clouds that wander across the blue expanse as lazily as cats on a sunlit windowsill. These soft, cottony tufts, suspended by gentle air currents, remind you of vanilla custard swirls or giant marshmallow puffs. You can almost taste their sweetness. In fact, Aristotle cataloged these wandering marvels around 340 BCE, dividing them into cirrus, the hair-like ringlet, cumulus, the heap, stratus, the layer, and nimbus, the rainbringer. A system so enduring that modern pilots still whisper those ancient Greek labels as they slice through the skies. Scholars remain divided over whether his elegant terms arose from patient observation or poetic license. It's either way, you now feel part of an unbroken chain of cloud watchers spanning millennia. A gentle breath of air drifts upward from the cave floor, carrying hints of dew and the metallic tang of ozone that pricks your tongue with the promise of fresh rain. You watch tiny droplets cling to the fissure's edge, shimmering like liquid glass before they surrender to gravity and plummet back into darkness. It's impossible not to grin, witnessing a natural roller coaster for water molecules, complete with perfect loops. Believe it or not, in the early 1800s, pioneering meteorologists affixed little glass jars to kites to capture specimens of cloud water, an eccentric experiment they dubbed sky brewing. Whether those soggy samples ever made it into tea is lost to history, but it underscores humanity's enduring obsession with bottling the ephemeral. You tuck a stray strand of hair behind your ear and lift a hand toward the opening, as if swiping at the sky like a touchscreen. The breeze responds instantly, sculpting a cumulus ribbon that folds and refolds like a perfectly choreographed origami demonstration. It feels almost like molding invisible clay, minus the fear of your creation collapsing in your face. Allah, that first pillow fortress you attempted back at home. A soft whoosh resonates through your bones, a vibration so subtle it whispers secrets of pressure and uplift. You press your palm flat against the cool stone. The cave answers with a muted echo that ripples through your mind, reminding you That rock and cloud are partners in the same grand ballet. The distant drip-drip of water recedes into silence as you attune to a higher frequency. The hushed brush of clouds gliding across the sky. You close your eyes for a heartbeat, inhaling that special mix of crisp air and moisture, tasting something like freshly laundered linen wafting off a clothesline beneath your fingertips. The cave walls feel rough at the edges, but smooth where your skin's worn them down now. Tactile diary of your early magic experiments with wind and spark. To sensory symphony, the hush of air, the tang of damp earth, the pale sunlight filtering through a razor-thin crack. Your thoughts drift to what comes next. Could you shape these drifting forms at will, molding them into creatures or signs or whatever your heart desires? The idea sends a shiver of delight up your spine, like discovering you can remix. It's a song past its annoying 30-second preview. You imagine yourself painting the heavens in real time, conjuring storm-kissed spirals that twist into perfect helixes at your command. The promise of that power is a delicious teaser prologue to the Thunderbolt mastery you've only just glimpsed. Reluctantly, you tear your eyes away from the sky's living canvas and rise, pressing your palms flat against the stone one last time. A solitary ribbon of cirrus catches the low sunlight, glowing like a golden thread stitching earth to heaven. You inhale deeply, filling your lungs with anticipation. The cave seems to exhale in return, its air humming with possibility. With your heart light and your spirit buoyed, you step forward down the shadowed passage. New secrets await. And the real journey of mastering your gifts is only just beginning. Asterisk, asterisk, you pause mid-step as a distant rumble reverberates through the cavern walls, low and rolling. Like the planetary waltz of titanic drums deep beneath the earth, your chest rumbles in sync, as though the cave is humming a bass note just for you. That far-off growl carries a weight you can almost touch, an audible promise of power waiting somewhere over the horizon. You lean forward, cupping your ear to catch the echo, and for a fleeting second, you imagine it was your own pulse, magnified into a symphony of impending storms. In ancient Greece, philosophers like Thales of Miletus circa 600 BCE proposed that thunder was the sound of air bursting into flame, surprisingly modern-sounding hypothesis for its time. He argued that when clouds separated and the winds collided, the resulting friction ignited the ether, producing the booming thunderclap. Of course, the idea of burning air didn't catch on in meteorology, but it illustrates how early thinkers grappled with nature's fury. Historians still debate whether Thales actually conducted experiments with electric fish to support his claims, or if these anecdotes were simply later inventions to bolster his reputation. Either way, his curiosity set the stage for centuries of sky-watching and storm theorizing. You tilt your head, letting the cave's natural acoustics play tricks on you. The rumble shifts in pitch and volume as it navigates the rocky contours, sometimes sounding miles away, other times dangerously close, like an enormous creature breathing in the underworld. This sensation makes your hair stand on end, not from fear but from fascinated anticipation. You press your palm against a fluted pillar of limestone, feeling the vibrations ripple through your fingertips. It's as if you've tapped into the very conduit that channels Zeus's signature bass line. Asterisk, asterisk, there's an eccentric curiosity tucked into the annals of meteorological history in the 18th century. European nobles held storm concerts where organ pipes were rigged with leather membranes to mimic thunder. The audience sat in velvet chairs under fake lightning bolts generated by Leyden jars, sipping punch while thunder roared on cue. It was less classical recital and more proto-rock show minus the groupies and backstage passes. Whether those aristocrats ever appreciated the authentic terror of a real storm is lost to time. But the extravaganza underscores humanity's age-old urge to recreate nature's drama. Asterisk, asterisk, a softer rumble follows. It's almost conspiratorial, as if the thunder is whispering secrets just for you. You bend your knees and lean in, focusing all your senses on the vibration in the earth. The moss at your feet quivers like hedgerows in a gale. The microdrops of dew on nearby stalagmites tremble before plinking softly onto the cavern floor. The chorus of dripping water and distant thunder forms an ASMR duet, urging your eyelids to flutter with contented calm even as your mind buzzes with excitement. You close your eyes, letting the rhythmic resonance wash over you in waves. Each thunderous pulse aligns with your heartbeat, forging a synchrony that feels almost ritualistic. You imagine yourself at Delphi centuries ago, where priestesses would interpret the throat-clearing roar of storms as messages from Apollo, though. Skeptics argue those readings were more about political theater than divine decree. Still, the idea that thunder could carry encoded omens gives you a shiver of delight. Perhaps these rumbles are the first verse of a prophecy written just for you. Gingerly, you lift a toe and feel the tiny vibrations tickle your skin like ants marching in perfect unison beneath your foot. You flex your toes and roll your weight forward, and with that shift, the thunder's cadence warps, as if you've played your first note on the world's grandest drum. Your chest flares with warmth and possibility. Your burgeoning powers can't just spark tiny lights. They can command the very rumble that shapes the skies. A sudden echo bounces off a distant chamber, magnifying the rumble into a staccato roll. The cave seems to come alive in response, stalactites swaying imperceptibly to the beat. You duck under an arching strut of stone, and the thunder echoes back in miniature, like catching your own voice in a whisper chamber. The effect is mesmerizing one moment. You're a passive observer. The next, you're a composer conducting an orchestra of storms. You open your eyes to watch the cave's features pulse softly with each boom. Glowworms embedded in the walls blink in sync, their bioluminescence waxing and waning like stage lights, reacting to the crescendo. It's a spectacle that no amphitheater in Olympia could rival. You chuckle softly, thinking how Zeus himself would be proud of the show you're curatang near the cavern's mouth, where a thin slit of sky peeks through. Clouds scuttle across the horizon, their edges lined with molten silver from the setting sun. You press your palm flat against the stone at that spot, willing the rumble to shapeshift into something you can mold. You feel a tingling in your fingertips as the distant thunder obeys, swirling into a coiled hiss targeted at the slit. The first time, you sense you could bend the thunder's rumble into patterns, perhaps even carve words or pictures into the sky's audio tapestry as the final murmurs fade into the cave's deep shadows. You stand upright, chest rising in. Slow, satisfied breaths. The echo lingers like a promise, a tattoo of sound etched into the solid rock. You brush off a smattering of dust from your tunic and give a small, triumphant nod. You've not only heard the thunder, you've conversed with it, teased it, and marked your claim. The next step beckons, and you move forward, eager to explore how that distant bass note might translate into the flicker of lightning you'll soon summon Dot with one last listen to the silent echoes. You step deeper into the labyrinthine cave, anticipation coiling like stored electricity in your veins. The rumble has shown you both the grandeur of storms and the subtlety of their pulse. Now, you're primed to discover how to ignite that power, turning murmurs into roars and, eventually, into the crackling thunderbolts that bear your name. Asterisk, asterisk, you crouch beside a cluster of smoldering embers. Nestled in a shallow hollow of the cave floor, their dull redness pulsing like the final beats of a dying heart. The heat radiates upward, caressing your skin with a languid warmth that feels both comforting and electric. In the dim glow, you can make out breadcrumb like ash swirling around the coals, drifting in lazy spirals before settling onto the stone. You lean forward, curiosity igniting in your chest, and extend a tentative fingertip toward the largest ember, half expecting to withdraw in pain. Instead, the ember's glow flickers and flares almost as if it's acknowledging your approach. You remember that early humans harnessed fire over 400,000 years ago, using it for warmth, protection? It's cooking a landmark innovation that literally reshaped evolution by unlocking new nutrients from food. That mastery of flame underpinned every subsequent civilization, from the Hittites forging steel to the Romans heating their elaborate bathhouses. Historians still debate whether some of the earliest hearths served primarily domestic functions, or were sacred altars where our ancestors communed with fire spirits. Either way, the discovery of controlled fire remains one of humanity's most transformative achievements. As you hover your hand above the ember, you sense a subtle vibration, like the ember is humming with latent potential. The surface crackles as tiny fragments flake off, scattering across the stone like glowing embers of a miniature galaxy. Unbidden, a swirl of static energy arcs between your fingertips and the ember. And the coal brightens, as though you fed it a bolt of electric life. A thrill courses through your veins. Your breath catches as the heat intensifies, but instead of recoiling, you draw the warmth closer, letting it mingle with your own nascent spark. There's an eccentric curiosity tucked away in cave archaeology, the prehistoric site of Kirikisha on Cyprus. Researchers uncovered red ochre-stained hearthstones that were used not only for light and warmth, but potentially as primitive signaling. Beacon smoke columns rising into the sky like secret messages. It's a reminder that even our distant forebears saw fire as both a tool and a messenger, capable of illuminating dark caves and unseen horizons alike. You wonder if these embers could one day serve as beacons of your own forging adventures. You brush a fingertip through the ember's edge, a ribbon of flame snakes along your skin without burning you. You let it trail across your palm, marveling at the tingling sensation like a gentle massage of pure energy. Your mind flickers with possibilities, lighting torches across mountaintops, guiding lost sailors home, or even welding metals with a mere flick of your wrist. The cave's hush wraps around you as you experiment, coaxing threads of flame that dance like fiery silk between your fingers. The walls glow in the emberlight, revealing ancient scorch marks that crisscross in chaotic patterns graffiti, left by unknown crafters who probably marveled at the same magic. You trace one blackened rune with your finger and feel a pulse of recognition, as though the ancients inscribed their wonder in stone for you to discover. It's a visceral connection across millennia, binding you to those early firewielders, who first dared to flirt with destruction and creation in the same breath. A sudden thought strikes you. Could these embers, coupled with your spark, forge the core of a thunderbolt? You cup your hands around a handful of glowing coals and lift them like a sacred offering, feeling the heat seep through your palms. You imagine pouring that molten energy into a mold of celestial metal, shaping the heart of the bolt with your own two hands. The concept sends a shiver of delight down your spine in electric anticipation that makes the cave air taste of possibility. You let the coals tumble back into their hollow. And as they settle, you notice a soft hiss of steam, rising from damp crevices in the stone. Tiny tendrils of smoke curl upward, carrying the rich aroma of burned pine resins, something the Minoans harvested in abundance to preserve wood and waterproof their ships. That resinous scent mingles with the metallic temps of your spark, creating a heady perfume that tugs at memory and magic alike. The cave embraces it all, distilling centuries of ritual and technology into a single breath. Leaning closer, you notice that some coals burn with a faint blue flicker, like the ghostly remnants of a colder flame. You recall that certain minerals, copper, boron, strontium, produce colored flames when burned? A fact medieval alchemists exploited in their quest for transmutation. Scholars still argue whether these ancient experimenters truly believed they could turn lead into gold, or were simply early chemists fascinated by the spectacle. Whatever their intent, their fire shows that even age-old embers could surprise you with hidden hues. You stretch out your hand, and the ember's heat intensifies. In a radiant glow that filters through your skin, painting your veins in fiery orange. You wonder if these burning coals could one day power your Thunderbolt's core? A crucible where metals and magic meld under your command. The idea hums in your mind like a promise, each pulse echoing the cave's ancient heartbeat. Gathering your courage, you scoop a small pinch of ash from the cluster and let it drift between your fingers. The powder shimmers with tiny metallic flecks, and when you hold it aloft, it catches the ember light like cosmic dust. You let it fall back to the coals, where it vanishes in a gentle puff of smoke. A low rumble of distant thunder greets this moment, as if the skies themselves applaud your experiment. You rise to your feet, heart buoyant with discovery. The embers, once inert relics of some forgotten fire, now feel like an extension of your own spiritress, pensive and primal. You brush soot from your palms and turn toward the cave's twisting corridor, emboldened by the knowledge that fire and spark can be woven into something far grander. The path ahead glows faintly in the residual heat, beckoning you onward too. Forge thunderbolts that will one day split the sky. Each step sends a residual warmth rippling through the stone, a reminder that you carry the power of flames in your veins. Inhale deeply, tasting the acrid sweetness of ash and anticipation, and plant your foot on the cool ground. The next challenge awaits, and with ember and spark now firmly in your grasp, you feel unstoppable. Asterisk. You pause in the corridor, chest still humming with the afterglow of the embers, and extend your hand, palm facing upward. A single spark flickers to life between your thumb and forefinger, bright and eager, like a curious fledgling testing its wings for the first time. It flares for an instant, then dims, as if surprised by its own existence. You feel a thrill ripple through your nerves. The spark didn't come from the cave's coals, but from you. It's a moment of startling clarity your flesh has become, a conduit for untamed energy. That first spark surprises you more than any glow of embers. It dances across your skin without burning, leaving a faint tingle in its wake. You flex your fingers, willing it to stay, and the light responds, pulsing. Softly as though breathing, you realize it shares your rhythm, syncing its flicker with the slow, steady beat of your heart. It's as if the spark is a living thing, reaching out for companionship in the silence of the cavern. You remember reading that in 1752, Benjamin? Franklin reportedly flew a kite into a thunderstorm to prove the electrical nature of lightning. Though some historians argue about the veracity of the kite experiment, it stands as a turning point in human understanding of electricity. Whether Franklin really dangled a key over his head or simply conducted safer laboratory trials, his work inspired generations to chase sparks not in caves, but in the skies above. Historians still debate whether Franklin's journal entry was embellished for dramatic effect or was an honest recounting of his daring feat of science. Either way, his legacy courses through your veins this very moment. Intrigued, you scoop the tiny spark into your cupped hands. It flutters like a trapped moth, glowing brighter against the dark stone. The warmth radiating from it is gentle, almost soothing, and you can feel the hairs on your arms rise in response. Can you imagine that? This spark is a fragment of primordial fire, a sliver of the lightning that roars high overhead. Holding it feels like cradling the heart of a storm. You press the spark against the wall. It trails a delicate line of light that rights itself in midair before dissipating a glowing signature that vanishes before you can trace its shape. It reminds you of the mysterious petroglyphs you spotted earlier, etched into the rock by hands lost to time. Those ancient artists captured what they saw swirling spirals and jagged treks, yet they could never have foreseen that the very magic they worshipped would one day flow through a child of Olympus. Huh? Low hum fills the corridor as your spark pulses in your palm. You close your eyes and picture a bolt of lightning arcing skyward. It's carving a path of pure electric white through storm clouds. You let that vision guide the energy between your fingers, and the spark responds by growing fuller, brighter, until it hovers in the air like a miniature sun. You should feel a surge of both wonder and trepidation. This power is beautiful, but raw. You're standing on a threshold between playful curiosity and something far more formidable. There is an eccentric curiosity in the annals of science. In the late 19th century, scientists used small sparks in glass tubes filled with neon gas to create brilliant colored lights, an invention that led to neon signage lighting up city streets. Those neon signs became cultural icons of the Roaring '20s, yet their origins lie in the same physics that now dances at your fingertips. It's a surreal connection. Imagining your cave-born spark sharing DNA with the glowing marquees of Art Deco boulevards. You inhale slowly, tasting the metallic Thames of ozone on your tongue. The spark quivers in response, as if breathing with you, and you feel a swell of reassurance that you can control this gift. Still, the spark's unpredictable flicker sends a slight jolt through your arm, a reminder that mastery will require both respect and practice. You brush a loose curl from your forehead, then gather your resolve. This is your element, and you will shape it, not be shaped by it. You extend your other hand, the spark drifting between your palms like soft heat. With delicate precision, you guide it upward, drawing a vertical line of light that hangs in the air before dissolving into motes of luminescence. The cave walls react, the bioluminescent moss along the edges brightening momentarily, as though awakened by your display. It's a small applause from the cavern itself, recognition that its ancient slumber is stirring to life again. Your mind drifts to tales of the Paleolithic Venus figurines, small statues depicting women with rounded forms. It's found across Europe and dated to around 25,000 years ago. Archaeologists found traces of red ochre on some, hinting that our ancestors might have painted them under flickering torchlight. Historians still debate whether these figurines represented fertility goddesses or were self-portraits by Paleolithic women. Either way, those ancient artists sought to capture life's spark in solid form. Just as you now cradle a fragment of elemental energy between your hands, laughing softly, you pinch the spark, and it bursts into a constellation of tiny lights that shower your palms like cosmic confetti. The sound is a gentle crackle, reminiscent of a fireplace on a crisp night. You cup your hands again and let the spark settle, concentrating on coaxing them back into coherence. Gradually, one lone spark remains, hovering like a firefly in a glass jar. This moment of calm lets you sense the cave's heartbeat, slow and patient, yet brimming with potential energy. You stand in the hallowed hush of stone and air, spark and soul, and you feel a profound kinship with every thunderstorm that has ever rumbled across these hills. You are the living bridge between sky and earth, past and future, ancient mystery, and new myth done. With a purposeful exhale, you release the spark. It darts upward, arcing through the corridor like a shooting star, before bursting in a soft, radiant bloom of light that washes the walls in a warm glow. Dust motes rise in the aftermath, dancing like tiny lanterns in the illuminated air. Moment hangs silent and perfect till the cave settles back into darkness. As though honoring your release, your heart pounds with exhilaration and awe. The spark was fleeting, but it carried a truth. This power is yours to wield, and you've only just begun to tame it. You wipe a bead of sweat from your brow, though the cave remains cool, as if the heat of your magic hasn't yet touched its ancient stones. You straighten your shoulders, feeling a new sense of purpose settle in your chest. Forward lies the next challenge, forging your fledgling spark into something enduring. Something that will one day crack the sky like the roaring anthem of a god. You step onward, each footfall a steady beat in the unfolding symphony of your destiny. The corridor bends ahead, shadowed and mysterious. You feel the spark inside you reignite at the thought of what comes next. With one last glance at the dim glow where your spark blossomed, you press on into the cave's deeper heart. Eager for the trials and triumphs that await. The journey is just beginning, and the world beyond these rocks will tremble when it hears your thunder. Asterisk. You emerge from the cave's cool, echoing hush into the golden haze of afternoon sun, squinting as your eyes adjust from phosphorescent twilight to pure, unfiltered daylight. The light feels almost abrasive after the muted glow of subterranean. Chambers like stepping onto a movie set where the director forgot to cue the gels. You draw in a breath heavy with thyme and wild oregano. It's attempts of Mediterranean herbs so vivid it tickles your nostrils like an energetic whisper. Ahead, the slopes of Mount Ida stretch upward. It's crowned by jagged peaks that pierce the sky at roughly 2,456 meters. Crete's loftiest summit and the legendary birthplace of Zeus himself. It's a throne carved by wind and time, waiting for someone bold enough to claim it. Your sandals crunch on a pathway of sun-baked stones, each one sunlit like a mosaic tile laid down by ancient masons. In the distance, you spy a marble column fragment half buried in scria, silent testament to Minoan pilgrims who once scaled these slopes during festivals of maturity, likely carrying libations of olive oil to honor the god of sky and storm. Historians still debate whether these ascents were solemn rites of passage or simply excuse enough for spirited rambles with the promise of free wine at the summit. Either way, you feel the weight of that pilgrimage behind every echoing step. As you begin your climb, the wind shifts from playful murmurs to focused gusts that buffet you like a rigorous trainer. You lean forward, planting each foot deliberately, keeping low to avoid being toppled by sudden puffs of air that smell faintly of sea brine. The path narrows, flanked by hardy shrubs clinging to the hillside juniper, sage, and thorny thyme that brush against your legs, leaving trails of aromatic oils on your skin. Each leaf releases a burst of scent as you pass, and the combined perfume is like breathing in a living perfume distilled by millennia of sun and storm. You pause at a rocky ledge where the terrain dips into a natural amphitheater of stone. Long ago, Minoan priests may have stood here to observe thermal updrafts, interpreting the way smoke plumes curled skyward as omens from the gods. It's an eccentric footnote in archaeological journals notes that one priest might have used a hollowed sheep's horn to amplify the howling wind into a shepherd's kala, kind of protobugle intended, more for show than herding sheep. Scholars still argue whether the horn was a functional tool or simply a theatrical prop to impress the faithful. If you crouch beside a patch of bare earth and blow gently into a hollow reed, your breath magnified into a low moan that ricochets off rock walls. Even your makeshift call feels satisfying, almost like a salute to every pilgrim who's trod this path before. Rising, you scan the vista. Terraced olive groves cling to lower slopes, their silvery leaves flickering in the breeze, like miniature seas. Below them, the whitewashed villages of Crete resemble spilled paint on an emerald canvas. Clustered around tiny harbors where fishing boats rock lazily, the distant Aegean glitters under the sun, an expanse so vast it feels like sky turned liquid. You stretch, reaching one hand toward the horizon as if coaxing the sea closer. And you feel a slight spark at your fingertips, an impulsive reminder that your power bubbles beneath the surface. The path steepens, and you navigate a series of rocky switchbacks, each bend presenting a new panorama. You take measured steps, rolling your shoulders to ease muscle tension, letting the hiss of wind through pine needles whisper calm into your shoulders. The scent of resin mingles with thyme-like cedar-scented incense wafting through a cathedral of stone. You pause to sip from your waterskin, feeling the cool liquid slide down your throat, quenching the small burn of exertion that tickles your lungs. They say Cretan spring water is so pure it was drunk by Roman senators, another historical footnote that gives the rest of your climb a touch of aristocratic flair. Midway up, you come across a shallow cave carved into the mountainside, its mouth wide and inviting. Inside, faint ochre remnants hint at ancient votive offerings, possibly left by worshippers seeking Zeus's favor during droughts. Eccentric travelers once reported finding small clay figures here, shaped like lightning bolts, which they claimed were prayer emojis left by pious hands. Modern scholars poke fun at the description, yet concede these votives show a primitive form of symbolic communication. You crouch inside the niche, closing your eyes to feel the cool air swirling around you, and trace a bolt-shaped indentation in the rock, its edges worn smooth by touch. You press your palm there and let your spark dance across the carved grooves, sending a warm surge that hums through your fingertips. The stone seems to hum in reply, as though recognizing one storm-bearer greeting another. Exiting the niche, you notice an eagle soaring overhead, its broad wings casting a fleeting shadow across the slope. Eagles, nested here in antiquity, revered as Zeus's messengers, and some surviving texts describe priests interpreting their flight patterns as divine dispatches. Historians still debate whether these bird omens influenced policy decisions or were retrofitted stories to lend weight to political acts. You watch the eagle wheel against the sky, then mimic its glide with your arms outstretched. The wind embraces you at once, lifting your sleeves, and if you close your eyes, you could almost believe you're airborne. For a heartbeat, you taste freedom like salt on your tongue. The mountain air grows cooler as you ascend, so you draw your cloak tighter around your shoulders. The sunlight dims to a softer glow as the path nears the tree line, where gnarled pines give way to craggy boulders dotted with lichen. Each rock bears the patina of centuries, with fractures that form natural handholds and footholds natures. Climbing gym for the agile. Use these grips to haul yourself past a particularly steep section, feeling the rough texture scrape lightly against your palms, satisfying in a primal way, reminding you of the cave walls where you first tested your spark among ancient petroglyphs. A sudden cushion of wind carries the faint scent of rain, an unexpected promise at this elevation. You pause, inhaling deeply. It's the air tastes of anticipation and minerals scraped from the mountain's core. You press your ear against a flat stone wall, seeking any echo of thunder rumbling in the distance. Instead, you hear the soft roar of the wind mingled with the whisper of unseen weather to come. The sound resonates in your chest like an unspoken challenge. Can you master this mountain storms as easily as you bend wind and spark? Smiling at that thought, you flex your fingers. Feel a residual fizz of electricity, the same thrill you had in the cave when you coaxed the spark to life. You project a tiny burst of static downward, watching as it crackles across the lichen-covered rock in fleeting arcs. Each small pop is a note in your private symphony of power, a reminder that your journey isn't just about reaching the summit, but about claiming authority over the elements themselves. Bracing yourself, you tackle the final stretch, a narrow ledge that skirts the cliff face, with nothing but sky below your toes. Your pulse flutters like a hummingbird's wings, but you step with measured caution, each footfall deliberate and sure. The wind roars louder here, as though eager to buffet you off the mountain or, perhaps, to salute your audacity. You embrace its force, leaning into the gusts until they feel like old friends cheering you on at last. You crest the ridge, and the world unfolds beneath you in a grand sweep of earth, sea, and sky. The summit lies only a few dozen meters ahead, crowned by a circle of weather-beaten stones and an ancient altar that bears the scars of ritual fire. You take a moment to collect yourself. Your heart thunders with exhilaration, your lungs ache with exertion, and your skin prickles with the thrill of being closer than ever to the clouds you first gazed at through the cave's crack. A tear at the threshold between earth and sky. You feel the call of your destiny pulsing strong, with a steadying breath. You step forward to the altar, ready to seek the next whisper of guidance in your quest to forge thunderbolts. The mountain stands, witness, indifferent yet receptive, as you prepare to etch your own story into its ageless stones. Asterisk. You step away from the weathered altar, its chest still humming from the mountain's breath, and follow a narrow, goat-worn path that winds into a cluster of twisted pines. The air here carries a hint of honeyed pine resin and damp earth, as if you've crossed an invisible threshold into something more enchanted. Each footstep crunches softly on a carpet of fallen needles. You feel the rhythm of your heart slow to match the hush of the secluded grove. Suddenly, a soft melody drifts through the trees, a voice like wind chimes caught in a breeze. It's calling your name in tones both playful and profound, peering through a tangle of branches. You catch sight of a figure perched on a moss-covered boulder. She's slight and lithe, her skin glowing faintly in the dappled sunlight. Hair the color of light summer wheat tumbling in loose braids. Her eyes sparkle like droplets of dew, and when she smiles, it's as though the forest itself exhales in contentment. You realize you're in the presence of a mountain nymph mentor in disguise. You're to guide you deeper into your elemental destiny. Nymphs featured prominently in Homer's epics as guardians of springs, groves, and mountains, personifying nature's most beguiling corners. Yet scholars still debate whether these spirits were purely mythic inventions to explain mysterious places or reflections of actual cult practices where devotees worshipped local divinities. Either way, the idea of a woodland sprite offering counsel feels perfectly fitting for this liminal space between earth and sky. She gestures with a delicate hand. Small motes of light flicker among the pine needles, drifting toward you like fireflies called forth by your presence. The gentle hum of the forest swells into an almost musical chord, weaving through your senses with a lullaby's patience. You offer a cautious nod, and she beckons you closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that tickles your ear like a feather brushing your skin. "Welcome, Stormbearer," she murmurs, each word infused with hidden power. "I've watched you awaken sparks, tame winds, and court embers. But the path to Thunderbolts requires more than raw magic, demands understanding, respect, and harmony with the world that births storms." Her tone is both playful and earnest, like a teacher teasing a student while revealing profound secrets. You settle beside her on the boulder, brushing your fingers along its cool, velvety moss. The texture is almost silken under your palm, a surprising contrast to the jagged cliffs you've just climbed. You inhale deeply, tasting the mingled scents of pine, moss, and distant rain. A faint echo of thunder rumbles somewhere far below. The nymph's gaze drifts upward as if she, too, hears the whisper of approaching storms. In ancient Crete, she begins, voice soft as squirrel fur slippers padding on a wooden floor. Thousands of years ago, worshippers carved sanctuary caves into these mountains, leaving votive offerings for earth and sky deities. Some held lit torches beneath stalactites to coax drips of mineral-rich water, what they called cave rain, believed to hold healing powers. You imagine glowing torches, illuminating priestly faces, shadows dancing in time with dripping water, and you feel the cave chambers you explored earlier, echoing with the same ritualistic magic. She pauses, plucking a tiny pinnacone from the moss and rolling it between her fingertips. But take heed, power untempered can fracture. You must learn to listen to nature's subtle cues, not just impose your will upon it. As she speaks, the ground beneath you vibrates with a soft pulse, like a heartbeat echoing through roots and rock. You nod, recalling your experiments with wind and spark. Recognizing that every display of force demands reverence, the nymph reaches into a fold of her moss-green cloak and withdraws, a slender reed flute carved from elderwood. She lifts it to her lips and exhales a note so pure it seems to carve a valley through the air, drawing lingering breezes into a symphony of sighs. Each breath you take resonates with the melody. The tune weaves through the trees, causing droplet-like dewdrops to glisten on pine needles as though painted with quicksilver. Music, she says once the last note fades, is the language of the wind. As you forge your thunderbolts, you must attune to the storm's silent songs. Listen, and you'll find patterns as intricate as any tapestry woven by mortal hands. You close your eyes and let the silence return, tuning in to the subtle rustle of leaves, the distant drip of hidden streams, and the soft hum of the earth itself. It feels like learning a new alphabet, Evan. The breeze has become a teacher. An eccentric curiosity floats into your mind. In the 17th century, members of the Florentine Accademia del Cimento conducted elaborate weather concerts, syncing musical instruments with barometers and thermometers to reflect changing meteorological conditions. They believed that music could mirror nature's moods, crafting compositions that rose in tempo as storms gathered and softened when skies cleared. Some critics labeled these spectacles more theater than science, yet the principle endures. Harmony arises when art and nature dance together. The nymph stands and extends her palm. In her hand rests a tiny, iridescent feather so delicate it seems spun from dawn's first light. She presses it into your palm, and as you touch it, a jolt of energy arcs across your fingers, tingling with promise. This feather came from an eagle that rides the updrafts on the mountain's north face. Eagles are storm's heralds, carrying lightning spark to the highest peaks. Let this be a token of their blessing, yet remember, a feather alone does not fly. It must be carried by wind. You press the feather against your heart, feeling its warmth settle into your chest like a gentle pulse. Beneath its softness, you sense a coiled strength, ready to uncoil when guided by your will. The nymph's eyes gleam with pride and mischief as she regards you. "I have one more gift," she murmurs, producing a shallow bowl carved from smooth stone. Inside, tiny droplets of water shimmer like liquid mercury. This is distilled storm water caught from the heavens, filtered through rock. It carries the memory of thunder's birth. Drink, and you will taste the storm's song within your veins. You raise the bowl with reverence, inhaling the metallic scent of the water before sipping. The liquid is cool and crisp, like a breeze turned to drink. As it slides down your throat, the world shifts. The leaves tremble. The distant thunder vibrates with new clarity, and you can almost see the patterns of air currents spiraling around your limbs. A soft warmth spreads from your chest, weaving through your limbs like sentient fire. Blinking, you find the nymphs smiling knowingly. Now, you hear more than rumblings and see more than flashes. Perceive the storm's essence, its melody, its touch, its memory. Guard this knowledge. Well, for power without purpose can become a tempest that consumes its master. Her words settle in your mind like rain in a parched field, nourishing seeds of resolve. You rise, offering the bowl back to her, but she shakes her head. Keep it until the forging. You'll need the storm's memory when you temper your bolts. You tuck the bowl into your satchel, its weight surprisingly light, and securing the feather in your tunic. The forest seems to exhale, an unseen wind rustling through branches as if bidding farewell. With a final, graceful nod, the nymph steps back into the grove's shadows. Her figure dissolves into a swirl of light and sound, leaving you alone with the whispering pines and the lingering hum of magic coursing through your veins. You stand for a moment, chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm, feeling both grounded by earth and uplifted by unseen currents. Turning toward the trail that descends the mountain's spine, take your first step, each footprint echoing. The nymph's lessons, you carry within you the echoes of wind songs, the touch of eagle's grace, the distilled memory of storms of mentors' gifts woven into your destiny. Ahead lies the valley and the forge beyond. But now you possess a richer toolkit, not just sparks and embers, but understanding, harmony, and the song of storms. Each breath you draw feels like a vow to honor the elements, to master your gifts, and to forge thunderbolts worthy of Olympus itself. With the nymph's guidance guiding your heart, you descend into the next chapter of your journey, ready to channel raw energy into crafted power. The mountain's peak fades behind you, but the storm's melody resonates within, propelling you forward into the unknown with newfound wisdom and confidence. Asterisk. You settle upon a fallen log at the edge of a sun-dappled clearing. The nymph's parting gifts secure in your satchel and your pulse still thrumming with her stormy melodies. The air is alive with the soft rustle of leaves, and overhead, wisps of cloud drift lazily across the sky, so blue it feels like velvet stretched between the mountain peaks. You close your eyes and lean back, letting the forest's hush cradle you as the nymph's tales weave through your thoughts. Sheed your fear. Young storm-bearer, the nymph had whispered, 4 storms are stories etched in the sky. You begin to recall her words, imagining the great tempests of old as grand epics. Each bolt a climactic flourish in a celestial saga. In your mind's eye, you see Zeus himself hurling bolts from his throne atop Mount Olympus, thunder roaring like applause across the heavens. Ancient poets like Hesiod evoked these spectacles in works such as Theogony, written around the 8th century BCE, where he describes Zeus's thunderbolts as forged from amber-hued lightning, a phrase that has echoed through classical literature. Ever since, historians still debate whether Hesiod's imagery arose from first-hand oral tradition or was later, embellished by scribes seeking to dramatize divine power. Either way, his words set the stage for every storm-inspired myth that followed. Opening your eyes, you allow your gaze to trail upward to where sunlight filters through the canopy, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow upon the ground. Each flicker seems to animate the leaves, transforming them into dancers in a silent ballet. In that moment, you sense the nymph's voice again, describing how each gust of wind carries a tale-whispered secret from distant seas or an echo of a mountain's lament. You imagine gathering these stories like scattered pages, stitching them into a tapestry of thunder and rain. A soft breeze brushes past, stirring the fallen needles and carrying with it the faint temps of ozone. You breathe in deeply, tasting the electric promise hidden in that scent. There's an odd curiosity tucked into meteorological lore in medieval Japan. Buddhist monks practiced rain rituals where they performed choreographed dances beneath cloud-filled skies, believing their synchronized movements and chants could coax rain from the heavens. Some observers claimed these ceremonies worked, while skeptics suggested any rainfall was mere coincidence. Scholars debate to this day whether these rituals held genuine atmospheric influence or were elaborate performances designed to unify communities in times of drought. You smile at the thought, your own fledgling. Performance with wind and spark feels like the most authentic of weather dances. You stand and gather a handful of soft pine needles, letting them fall through your fingers in a slow, deliberate drift. Each needle flutters like a tiny spear of green, tracing a gentle arc through the air. In that moment, you sense how even the smallest gestures can ripple outward, shaping currents you may not immediately see. The forest is teaching you that storms begin as whispers before they crescendo into roars. Drawing your satchel closer, you retrieve the shallow bowl of distilled stormwater the nymph entrusted to you. You tilt it gently, watching the silvery droplets catch the light, each one reflecting a miniature sun. When they finally settle, the surface shimmers like quicksilver, drawing your hand toward it as though compelled by invisible currents. You dip a fingertip into the bowl and let a droplet roll down your palm. It's cool and fluid, carrying within it a memory of thunder's birth, a surging energy that reverberates softly beneath your skin. In that instant, recall another curious footnote from weather lore. Victorian neuroscientists affixed glass kites to barometers, hoping that the kite's ascent would capture more accurate pressure readings aloft. They tethered their instruments to frail bamboo frames, launching them during storms in hopes of mapping atmospheric changes in real time. Some expeditions ended in soggy failure. Others returned data that reshaped understandings of weather patterns. The debate among historians centers on whether these early aerological experiments proved the advanced meteorology or were romantic diversions fueled by Victorian enthusiasm for spectacle. If you trace a small circle on your palm with the water, feeling the blend of history and hope in every swirl. Carefully, you pour the remaining drops into the hollow of your other hand and bring it to your lips, sipping the liquid's essence. A shiver of understanding courses through you. You not only sense storms' power, but also their stories: the rise and fall of wind, the birth of rain, the echo of thunder rolling across ages. The forest around you seems to lean closer, as, eager to share its own centuries-old narratives. You close your eyes, letting the stormwater's resonance guide you. You picture a distant village parched by drought, its people raising their eyes to the sky in silent plea. You envision gathering clouds, drawing them downward like a tapestry unfolding, then releasing them in a shower of blessing. The sensory memory of the cave-stripping pools, the mountain's whistle, and the forge's embers meld in your mind, each image a chapter in your unfolding saga. Slowly, you lower your hands and open your eyes, resolving to carry these tales with you. Around you, the leaves have settled again. The forest's hush deepens, as though granting you space to reflect. You rise and brush stray needles from your tunic, each movement deliberate and mindful, an echo of the wind's own measured dance. Before you lie two paths, one leading deeper into the woods toward a hidden spring, the other ascending toward a rocky bluff where storm clouds sometimes gather in midsummer. You pause at the fork, feeling the pull of both. One path calls you to gather fresh waters that swirl with mountain magic. The other promises a vantage point from which to witness storms as they form. You recall the nymph's guidance? Harmony with nature comes from listening first, acting second. Taking a moment. Okay? You close your eyes and attune to the forest's subtle cues, the direction of the breeze, the distant rumble's faint echo, the bird's muted calls overhead. The wind settles eastward, carrying distant thunder on its breath, while the scent of moist earth drifts from the spring beyond the trees. You open your eyes, heart aligned with nature's quiet counsel, and choose the path to the spring. As you step forward, the forest floor cushions your strides. Sunbeams dance upon your shoulders, and the soft hum of life accompanies your passage. Each footfall feels like a page turning in an ancient tome, the next chapter of your story unfolding with every step. The spring awaits, its waters promising new lessons, fresh memories of storms brewing. You carry the nymph's storm tales in, your heart ready to deepen your bond with the elements and forge your destiny, one story at a time. Asterisk. You step off the forest path and approach the hidden spring where water murmurs over polished stones in a soft, steady cadence. The air here is cool and surprisingly still, as if the spring has drawn out every lingering whisper of wind to concentrate its own voice. You kneel beside the pool, dipping your fingers into the crystalline water. The liquid slides over your skin like silk, carrying with it the distilled memory of storms you tasted earlier. You lift your hand, droplets clinging to your fingertips, and let them fall back with a gentle plink that echoes like a metronome in the quiet. Hollow, recalling the nymph's instruction to listen to the storm's silent songs. You close your eyes and attune yourself to three elements at once: the gurgle of the spring, the distant hum of the mountainside breeze, and the faint, low rumble of thunder rolling far above the horizon. You imagine each sound as a musical note in a grand symphony, weaving together into the prologue of lightning's flash. With a soft exhale, you gather that triad of sounds in your mind, like chords on a harp, letting their resonance coalesce into a single, vivid vision, the crackling arc of electricity shredding the sky. You open your eyes and extend your arms forward, palms facing one another as if cradling an invisible orb of potential. The air between your hands hums with latent energy, prickling along your skin like tiny pinpricks of static. It feels like that first spark you summoned in the corridor. Now, the power is deeper, more confident. You press your thumbs and forefingers together, forming a delicate frame for what you intend to create. A subtle warmth flares at your core, spreading along your arms to gather between your thumbs. It pulses in sync with your heartbeat, forging a rhythm you recognize as your personal lightning cadence. You concentrate on the sensation, letting the warmth intensify until your fingertips glow with pale blue light like moonlight trapped beneath glass. In that moment, the world holds its breath. Even the water in the spring stills, and the spring song softens into silence. Then, with a decisive flick of your wrists, you part your fingers. A slender bolt of lightning arcs between. Your thumb's a delicate filament of electric white energy that dances and crackles, illuminating the stones around you with ghostly shadows. The flash is weak compared to stormborn lightning, but it's yours. The first true arc of power you've crafted. It shivers across your skin without pain, leaving behind a faint tingle like the aftertaste of citrus soda in the brightness. You catch sight of algae and mineral veins in the spring's basin, glowing in neon greens and blues, as though revealed under ultraviolet light. The bolt pulses twice, then fades into a soft sizzle, dissipating into motes of light that drift down to rest on the water's surface. Each speck shimmers for a heartbeat, before vanishing beneath the ripples. That moment feels like crossing an invisible threshold. Widely known fact: the average lightning strike carries around 1 billion joules of energy, enough to toast 100,000 slices of bread in a single flash butt here in your hands. That energy is distilled to its barest essence, concentrated through your will alone. It's both humbling and exhilarating to hold such potential in so fragile a form. A distant thunderclap follows, as though applauding your achievement. You laugh softly, a sound that crackles in the silent spring grove like the crack of your bolt. You feel your pulse slow as the heat of creation ebbs away, leaving behind only a warm glow in your chest. Tiny ripples dance across the water, drawn by the remaining charge. The spring seems to murmur approval, its voice weaving into your own. Sense of triumph. There's an eccentric curiosity in the annals of early science. In the 18th century, inspired by Franklin's experiments, some daring inventors built handheld storm chimes, metal rods hung with tiny bells, hoping the static charges in their hands would produce faint tinkles when lightning was near. These zapper bells rarely rang, but their inventors insisted they captured the electric aura of storms. You imagine your bolt triggering such bells in an invisible storm choir, each ring marking the birth of your power. You flex your fingers, and the air immediately responds. It's gathering tiny arcs that stretch between your digits like an electric lattice. You guide them downward, drawing soft lines of light across your forearm. Each filament doesn't scorch. Instead, they trace intricate runes in mid-air, glowing briefly before fading. It reminds you of the petroglyphs in the cave that ancient artists once tried to capture storms in stone, and now you capture them in light. Historians still debate whether ancient Greeks truly believed Zeus's thunderbolts were solid projectiles, or metaphorical symbols of divine wrath. Some argue that classical texts describe actual forged thunderbolts stored in the god's divine armory, while others say the concept was poetic shorthand for nature's fury. Yet here you stand, forging the literal spark-one flash at a time-merging myth and reality in a way no scholar could have foreseen. Encouraged, you concentrate again. This time, you aim not for a single filament, but for a tiny cascada. Miniature forked bolt that splinters into several branches, each less than an inch long. The air crackles as the energy surges, and you emit a low hum that resonates deep in your chest. When you part your fingers, the lightning bursts forth in a delicate tree pattern, like a fractal blossom. You watch in awe as each branch arcs outward, before collapsing back into your palm, releasing a soft pop that echoes like a quiet drum. Your hair stands on end in response. Not from fear, but from exhilaration. You tip your head back and let the afterglow wash over your senses, the metallic tang of ozone. It's the warmth dissipating in a gentle breeze, and the faint hum of energy still lingering. All around you, the spring's waters ripple, carrying faint tracings of motes that glow for an instant before dissolving. You press your hand to your chest, feeling your heart slow to a steady pace. Below the surface, you sense something stirring in the pool, a delicate shimmer that suggests the water itself has absorbed a fragment of your spark. It's a reminder that every act of creation leaves an imprint on the world around you. Scoop a small handful of water and let it drip from your fingers, each drop catching the light before falling to the stones below. The grove feels more alive than ever. Leaves quiver on nearby branches. Stones seem to pulse with latent energy. And the distant sky bears the promise of gathering clouds. You rise to your feet, brushing water from your tunic, and offer a quiet nod to the spring as if thanking an old friend. This first lightning flicker is a milestone, a proof of concept that you can bend raw storm energy to your will. As you turn away from the spring, bolts of sunlight dance on the forest floor, mimicking your bright arcs. You carry the memory of that flash with you, an ember of power that warms your veins and lights your path deeper into the mountains. Ahead lies the forge, the next crucible where sparks and alloys will be tempered into thunderbolts. Yet, no matter how grand the forge, this first flicker, born between your fingertips, is where your legend truly began. With renewed purpose, you set off along the mossy trail, each step crackling with anticipation. The world seems charged around you, ready to echo your next command. You inhale the forest's charged air, feeling the storm's melody still humming beneath your skin. Soon you will temper this spark into something that can split the sky. But for now, you smile, savoring the electric triumph that dances between your fingers. A promise of thunder yet to come. Asterisk. You drift into slumber beside a gentle fire crackling near the forge's cavern entrance, your eyelids heavy as moth wings settling on dusk's curtain. The embers glow a soft ember red that pulses with the same rhythm as your heartbeat, lulling you into a realm where the boundary between waking and dreaming ripples like a heat mirage. Around you, the stone walls exhale residual warmth, and the scent of smoldering pine resin blends with the metallic temps of your lightning trials. In this suspended moment, you feel weightless, neither entirely at rest nor fully alert, but poised on the cusp of something extraordinary. Your breath deepens, and you slip beneath sleep's whispering veil. Suddenly, you stand atop a storm-racked summit where clouds swirl in tumultuous waves beneath your feet, forming a churning sea of gray. Lightning forks in brilliant arcs all around, each bolt etching filigree patterns across towering cumulonimbus sculptures. One crack snaps so close your hair whips into your face, charged with static that tickles your cheeks like an eager kitten. The sky trembles under the roar, and you realize you're the conductor of this electric orchestratrace of your hand summons new bolts. Each breath fans the storm's crescendo. In this dreamscape, the thunderbolt in your grasp is no longer a fragile filament, but a solid rod of incandescent plasma, warm to the touch like molten glass. You cradle it in both hands, marveling at its weight and heat more substantial than any metal you felt, yet alive with crackling energy. As you lift the bolt, the wind howls in approval, carrying a low chant that reverberates in your chest. Like an ancient hymn, you feel joyous, triumphant, and utterly at home. A widely known fact: in antiquity, Greek dream incubation rituals at the sanctuary of Asclepius involved sleeping within temple walls to receive divine vision. Sleep was itself considered a portal to the gods' secrets. Historians still debate whether these incubations were sincere spiritual communions or cleverly marketed pilgrimages that padded temple coffers. Either way, the ancients believed dreams could impart guidance and prophecy, much like the vision unfolding before you now. Mid-dream, you raise the thunderbolts overhead and hurl it into the sky. It arcs in slow motion, trailing sparks like a comet's tail, then embeds itself in a cloud bank with a sound like an echoing gong. The cloud ruptures, and a deluge of rain cascades downward, each drop shimmering with residual lightning glow. The storm's fury softens into a gentle shower that flickers with phosphorescent streaks, turning the rain into a luminous curtain. You laugh, feeling the rain's electric kiss on your skin cool, tinged with ozone and oddly comforting, as though the storm itself wraps you in a protective shroud. An eccentric curiosity flashes through your mind. Medieval alchemists in 14th century Europe sometimes mixed impure salts with powdered gemstones to create storm glass vials, claiming the crystallized patterns inside predicted weather changes. Some believed the crystals danced ahead of storms, drawing lightning's essence into glass. Modern scientists argue these devices merely responded to temperature, far less mystical cause, but the allure of capturing storm magic in a jar endures in folk legends. The dream shift deepens as you find yourself walking along a narrow ridge formed entirely of lightning-scarred stones. Each stone bears jagged fissures where ancient bolts etched their fury, veins of crystalline mineral glinting along the cracks. You press a fingertip into one of these veins, and it hums like a tuning fork, resonating with the bolt you carry. With a thought, you push your rod against the vein, and the two join in a burst of light, merging into a radiant orb that pulses with unified power. You feel a sudden tug as the dream vortex spins faster, pulling you toward a colossal statue of Zeus carved from storm-broken marble. He towers above you, eyes alight with an inner glow, cloak whipping as if caught in an eternal gale. His right hand is extended, palm up, and you step forward to place your orb in it. The marble fingers close, and the orb flares, sending ripples of energy cascading across the dream sky, forming concentric circles of luminescence that expand outward until they blend with the cloud sea below. The dream's wind shifts into a chorus of voices speaking in low, rolling tones, fragments of prayers and praises from countless generations. You hear whispers of heroes who once sought Zeus's favor, of mortals trembling before storms, and of oracles interpreting thunder as divine decree. Scholars still dispute whether such collective lore emerged organically from shared experiences, or was intentionally cultivated by priestly classes to reinforce social order. Then the storm's roar softens. Bend rainbows arc across the horizon of your vision. Then their colors more vivid than any you've witnessed, violet glowing like embered coals, green shimmering like liquid jade. You gaze at the sky bridge and realize it's the path to Olympus itself. Your heart surges with wonder and anticipation. Beyond that arc, you sense realms of light and power that await your mastery. You step onto the rainbow, feeling its prism, warmth beneath your sandals, and ascend toward the glowing heights. But just as you near the summit, single cracked echoes a bolt of lightning shatters the rainbow underfoot, sending you tumbling through the storm. The world goes white-hot, and you feel yourself falling into a void of pure energy. Then, with a snap, you awaken beside the dying embers of your campfire, chest heaving, limbs tingling with residual electricity. The forge cavern's ceiling looms above, and faint morning light seeps in through its mouth. The Thunderbolt dream fades, leaving a lingering taste of ozone on your tongue and an unshakable conviction that your destiny lies among the storms. You sit up, brushing ash from your tunic, and press both palms to your temples, feeling the dream's aftershocks ripple through your mind like echoes in a hollow. That dream was more than a fancy. It was a seed planted deep inside you, reminding you of the height your power can reach, the unity of myth and reality you now embody. With a steadying breath, you stand and step toward the forge's entrance. The path ahead is lit not only by daybreak, but by the vision you carry. An electric blueprint for the Thunderbolts you'll forge as you strap on your satchel. The faint rumble of distant thunder greets you like a friend's greeting. You smile, running a hand through your hair, now spiked with static vitality. The dream delivered its message. Your Thunderbolts are not just tools of war or symbols of might, they're conduits of stories and wonder. Bridges between mortal, courage, and divine power. You step forward into the morning light, heart buoyed by dream's promise, eager to transform vision into reality. You pause at a fork in the cavern's winding corridor, the torchlight from your harness casting long, flickering shadows across the damp stone. Somewhere ahead, voices drift through the air, whispers, soft as moth wings brushing across your air. Here, You press your back against the cool wall, peering around a jagged outcrop to glimpse two cloaked figures in hushed conversation. Their words are lost in the echoing hush, but the cadence carries that familiar Minoan lilt of clandestine counsel. Lean as you dare, and you catch a snatch of their murmur. Child of Hera, thunderbolt in his grasp, Araya's secret. Your heart thumps like a temple drum, each beat amplifying the heat in your cheeks. Hidden siblings, Southers like you, born of divine plots and mortal shores, sheltered away from Olympus's jealous eye. The thought pricks at your ribs with equal parts excitement and longing. You slide back into shadow, breath shallow, relishing the rush of being part of something larger than your own quest. Widely known fact, Greek oracles, such as the famed Pythia at Delphi, often spoke of hidden children of gods' youths raised in secrecy until their powers matured. Historians still debate whether these prophecies referred to literal offspring or allegorical moral lessons woven into mythic narratives. Either way, the idea of secret heirs hidden by divine parents has captured imaginations for millennia. You peer ahead once more. The two figures have moved on, their footsteps fading into the distance. You glance at your hands, still bearers of spark and ember. A grin tugs at your lips. Today's gossip is tomorrow's adventure. You step into the corridor, the stone underfoot slick with condensation. Each droplet glitters like a miniature galaxy, as if the cave itself were strewn with tiny night skies. You love that about this place. One moment you're excavating your divine potential. The next, you're tripping over cosmic confetti. A sudden drip echoes from high above, punctuating. Your thoughts? You remember that the Antikythera mechanism and intricate Greek analog computer from around 100 BC tracked celestial movements with astonishing precision. Archaeologists still puzzle over the full extent of its purpose. Was it merely an astronomical calendar, or did it serve as a navigation aid for storm-tossed sailors? The debate sparks your imagination. Perhaps hidden children use similar tools to plot secret journeys, charting constellations to rendezvous beneath moonlit skies. You follow the passage's gentle downward slope, senses alert for any further whispers. The walls here bear carved, not just ancient signposts pointing deeper into the labyrinth. You run your fingertips over one, the groove smoothed by countless hidden pilgrims who walked this path long before you. A faint memory of the nymph's flute melody surfaces in your mind, letting the notes guide you like a compass needle. You close your eyes, you can almost hear those silver-toned notes coaxing the cave to reveal its secrets. A playful breeze gusts through the corridor, ruffling your hair and tugging at your cloak. You chuckle. The cave seems as eager as you are to disclose its hidden truths. Sometimes you half expect the walls to waltz, morphing to form new passageways on cue. If only spelunking had a tutorial video, you'd already be a pro-complete. With blooper reel highlights of that time, I faceplanted into a stalagmite. But instead, there's just you, your senses, and the promise of clandestine siblings waiting in the dark. Up ahead, the corridor opens into a high-ceilinged chamber, where the air feels charged like the static just before a summer storm. You tread carefully, boots whispering across the smooth stone, and pause at the lip of a natural overlook that reveals a sunken, courtyarded grotto below. Moonlight filters through a fissure in the ceiling, illuminating a stone bench where several cloaked figures sit in a loose circle, heads bowed in what looks like ritual. You count at least 3, maybe 4 each, one small in stature, their features hidden beneath hoods. You press your chest against the edge and exhale quietly, watching as one figure lifts a hand to the center of the circle. A pale glow flares around their fingertips, rising in a gentle arc before dissipating in sparks that drift like fireflies above the group. A murmur of agreement ripples through the circle, perhaps a greeting, perhaps a signal that you're not the only one who can bend lightning to their will. You slip deeper into the shadow of the archway, his heart pounding at the sight of others wielding the same fledgling power. A spark of camaraderie kindles in your chest, and you wonder what bond these hidden children share. Do they meet nightly to trade tips on breeze manipulation, or recite impromptu lightning limericks for comic relief? There once was a bolt, my hand. You stifle a giggle, The image of Thunderbolt-themed nursery rhymes is just delightful enough to brighten the gloom. A second flash ripples through the group's slender tendril of storm blue energy, tracing intricate runes. In the air, then settling like glowing tattoos onto the stones at their feet. Your stomach flutters? You're not just an only child of the sky. You're part of a clandestine family, scattered across hidden grottos and sacred peaks. Each of you mastering aspects of stormcraft in secret. It's the weight of that realization. It feels like a lightning rod for your ambition. You strain to overhear snippets of their chant. Forge perfected. Heavens tremble. Kin unite. The words send a thrill of purpose through your limbs. Perhaps these siblings to seek. The legendary Stormforgeware Thunderbolts are tempered in celestial fires. You tuck that possibility into your mind as one more clue on your journey. Yet despite the excitement, a question nags at you. Will these hidden kin welcome you as an equal, or view you as a rival for divine favor? The thought sparks a ripple, of apprehension in your chest. You brush it away. There's nothing to be gained by dwelling on imagined slights. Better to step forward with open hands and honest intent than cower behind the darkness like a timid shade. A low rumble shakes the chamber, as though the earth itself reminded you of what's at stake. The figures fall silent, heads lifting. And for a moment, their hoods swivel in unison toward the fissure overhead, perhaps sensing the same distant thunder you felt in the cave's opening. If you take your chance, a single spark flares at your fingertips, bright enough to catch their attention, but gentle enough not to startle them. The glow smeared across your digits gleams like a beacon. One figure stands and edges toward the projection, eyes widening when they recognize the trademark curve of your lightning cadence. A slow smile unfurls beneath their hood, a gesture as warm as midday sun. You hold the spark steady, letting it dance and hum and watch as they raise an answering glow in their own palm. The chamber fills with twin arcs of light, two fledgling currents reaching out to greet one another. Child of Rhea. The newcomer calls softly, voice echoing like, "Mine through reeds? I sensed you before I heard your spark." Their tone is neither accusatory nor suspicious, but curious, an invitation more than a challenge. Relief unfurls in your chest, softening the tight coil of nerves. One by one, the other figures rise, offering sparks of greeting in a silent chorus of electric color. Your lips curl into a grin broad enough to eclipse any cave shadow. In this hidden conclave, you found your can each spark a word in a shared language older than Olympus itself. Here, amidst the moss and stone, you belong. Here, whispered secrets will be traded like precious treasures. And here, you'll discover that no sibling of the storm stands alone, with a steadying breath. You step into the chamber's glow, extending your hand in friendship and solidarity. The hidden children lean in, shadows retreating as the brilliance of your collective. Sparks fills the grotto with radiant promise. A new chapter of your destiny unfolds in that vaulted space, one written not in isolated feats, but in shared stormlight and kinship. You smile, heart thrumming with excitement and relief. The forge, the bolt, the mountain all pale beside this moment of unity. Together, you and your hidden siblings will seek the Stormforge, temper Thunderbolts, and carve your names into Olympus's memory. The murmured promises echo in your mind. Kin unite. Heavens tremble. Forge perfected. And you know, without a whisper of doubt, that with this clandestine family at your side, your power and your story will blaze brighter than any solitary spark. You slip away from the flickering glow of your newly found siblings, hearts still thrumming from the warmth of their welcome. Ahead, a narrow passage veers upward, its walls etched with faint glyphs that twine like ivy in the half-light. You press a palm against the cool stone and remember the nymph's counsel. Seek guidance from the mother who shields her children. Your mind spirals back to Rhea, the Earth Mother, whose cunning saved you from Cronus's devouring grasp. Now, somewhere in these winding halls, her hidden message waits, one final secret before the Stormforge's path reveals itself. Every step feels sacred, as though your souls tread the same stones Rhea once graced. You trace the carved spirals lining the corridor, on ancient motif found on Minoan pottery dating from around 1800 BCE. It's thought to symbolize the cycle of life and rebirth. Historians still debate whether these spirals represented water currents, goddess worship, or simply decorative flair. But each swirl feels like a heartbeat, guiding you onward. The passage narrows to a slender crevice, just wide enough for you to slide through. As you wriggle inside, the air cools, redolent with the scent of damp earth and dried oregano and herb. The Minoans prized for both culinary and medicinal uses. It's an oddly comforting fragrance, a reminder that even in secrecy, care and nurture persist. You pause to inhale its faint sweetness, then crouch to follow a trail of crushed thyme seeds along the floor. Their oily surfaces glistening faintly like microscopic jewels at the end of the crevice. You discover a small alcove carved into the rock. Here, this flat stone shelf holds a rolled-up parchment tied with a ribbon of woven fibers soft as a grandmother's shawl, but dyed the deep blue of storm clouds. You lift it with reverent fingertips, noting the edges frayed by time and the weight of clandestine import. Unfurling the parchment, you reveal a delicate map sketched in silvery ink. Its lines shimmering like lightning forks across the page. It traces your journey from the cave's entrance up to the summit and then descends into a hidden valley where the Storm Forge is said to lie beneath an ancient olive grove. An eccentric curiosity flickers in your mind. In medieval Greece, secret love letters were sometimes written with ink made from crushed almonds and honey, rendering the words invisible until heated by candle flame, a primitive form of steganography. While those letters aim to conceal affection, Rhea's message uses a similar principle. Only under the faint glow of your spark does the silvery ink sizzle slightly, revealing hidden runes that guide the forge's precise location. As you lean closer, the runes dance, spelling out instructions to follow the canyon's whispering stream until you reach 3 stone pillars, each carved with the image of a thunderbolt. There, beneath the central pillar, lies an iron ring embedded in the rock pull. It, and the Earth's secret door, will grant you passage. The instructions warn that timing matters. You must arrive when the sun strikes the pillars at true noon, casting a single pointed shadow that aligns all 3 bolts in a straight line. It's a celestial lock of light and stone, blending engineering with divine design. You roll the parchment with care, securing it under your cloak. The map feels heavier now, burdened with destiny and maternal love. You linger in the alcove, letting the hush of subterranean shadows fill your senses. A distant drip echoes like a slow metronome, reminding you that time flows even in hidden chambers. You close your eyes and draw a slow breath, tasting the metallic temps of anticipation that mingles with the earth's cool aroma. You stand, brushing fine dust from your tunic, and step back into the corridor. A gentle breeze stirs from deeper within the passage, as if the mountain itself exhales encouragement. You pause where the hallway splits, choosing the path carved with repeated bolt motifs that match those on the map. Each step down that corridor feels purposeful, your stride echoing with the confidence of one blessed by both mentor and mother. An academic debate surfaces in your thoughts. Some scholars argue that Minoan sanctuaries hid secret chambers, accessible only to priestesses' spaces where sacred rites were performed away from public view, while others contend these nooks were merely storage alcoves for offerings. Regardless, you know this alcove bore the imprint of divine intention. A hidden cradle of instruction meant only for you. The passage opens into a narrow canyon bathed in silvery moonlight filtering through a fissure above. You follow the soft murmur of a stream, its waters clear and cool as if distilled from the heavens themselves. Moss carpets, the canyon floor, and tufts of wild lavender release a heady perfume that lingers on your lips. The map promised 3 pillars carved with thunderbolts and a head. Spy the first. A stout column of limestone etched with a jagged bolt that seems to pulse in the moonlight. You touch the pillar's carvings, and the stone vibrates under your palm, singing with latent power. The bolt glyph shimmers, as though your fingers awaken its ancient magic. Walking further, you find the second pillar taller and slender, its weathered bolt carving nearly erased by centuries of wind. You place a hand on it, feeling a gentle hum as the glyph reignites in response to your presence. Finally, you come upon the third and central pillar, its bolt carving deep and crisp, the stone still sharp from its original sculptor's chisel. Sunlight cannot reach this hidden veil until morning, but your spark answers the call. You bring your palms together and summon a pale filament of lightning that arcs between your hands, illuminating the pillars in an electric glow. The glyphs flare, casting long shadows that intertwine in a straight line across the canyon floor. Remembering the parchment's counsel, you press the iron ring set into the base of the middle pillar. It lifts with a satisfying creak, and the ground trembles softly beneath your boots. A panel of rock slides aside, revealing a stone-carved stairway spiraling downward into the Earth's womb. A rush of warm, musty air greets you, perfumed with olive leaves and forge fire. You smile, heart light with triumph, knowing you've unlocked the threshold to the storm forge itself. Before descending, you pause to send a silent whisper to Rhea. "Thank you, Mother." Then you step onto the stairway, each step ringing with purpose as you carry her secret guidance into the forge's hidden heart. The path ahead is steep and dark, but you are ready, armed with map, Mother's blessing, and the spark that will shape your destiny. You step onto the spiraling stair carved deep into the mountain's heart. Each stone step cool and smooth under your boots, guiding you downward into a world that smells of smoldering earth and distant fires. A soft gust of warm air wafts upward, carrying the faintest crackle of flame sass, though the forge itself whispers your arrival. Your fingers glide along the rough-hewn walls, tracing veins of mica that catch your torchlight and sparkle like trapped stars. Each breath you draw tastes of dust, metal, and the promise of creation at the stairway's base. You emerge into a vaulted cavern half lit by phosphorescent lichen, its pale green glow rippling across a sea of stone. The space stretches wider. Then, a hall in any palace you've known, its ceiling arched like the hull of an ancient ship turned upside down. Enormous anvils of veined marble stand sentinel along the walls, each inscribed with lightning-shaped runes that pulse faintly as your spark passes near. You step forward, toes just brushing against the rough ground, and feel a thrill in your chest. This is the legendary Stormforge. It's hidden away from mortal eyes since time immemorial. A widely known fact floats into your mind as you survey the scene. In the classical era, Greek blacksmiths used bellows made of oxide to feed their forges with air, raising temperatures high enough to shape bronze and iron into weapons and tools. Those artisans were among the earliest metallurgists, triggering debates about whether their forges were purely utilitarian workshops or secret sanctuaries, where divine smiths, like Hifsta, taught their craft. Historians still argue whether tools found at ancient smithing sites bore sacrificial marks intended to consecrate the metal or were mere remnants of everyday industry. The forge's heart lies at the cavern floor's center, where a square pit holds coals that glow a dull red, their embers shifting in patterns reminiscent of dancing fire sprites. Four thick iron chains descend from the ceiling, connected to a massive floodgate that, when lowered, channels fresh wind through hidden vents or currents strong enough to stoke the coals into a furnace hot as the sun's edge. You imagine? The Thunderbolt metal once flowed molten here, shaped by divine hands. Now, it'll take your mortally yet extraordinary strength and magic to reawaken that ancient art. You ventured closer to the pit, the heat tingling across your skin like tiny pricks of static. The air shimmers in wavering waves, and each breath feels charged with potential. You kneel at the pit's lip and scoop a handful of warm ash, letting it sift between your fingers like cosmic dust. It smells faintly of sulfur and pine, as though the mountain's core burned with forest fires long ago. When you let the ash fall, it floats on drifting air currents, settling on the cold stone like a fine layer of powdered snow off to one side. You spot a cluster of tools, hammers with heads shaped like miniature thunderbolts, tongs forged from hardened bronze, and chisels whose blades gleam with an otherworldly sheen. You pick up the smallest hammer, testing its weight. It feels perfectly balanced in your hand, as though it were made for your grip alone. Legend says these tools were gifts from Hephaestus, passed down through the ages to the chosen smith of thunder. You run your thumb along the hammer's curve and sense the faint echo of lightnings crackle within it. An eccentric curiosity surfaces. In the Byzantine period, smiths reputedly used fragments of meteorite iron fallen from the heavens too. Fashioned ceremonial swords, believing the metal carried celestial power. Some swords survived to modern times, their composition matching extraterrestrial iron rather than terrestrial ores. Whether these blades truly held supernatural properties is debated among metallurgists, but the idea of starborn steel resonates with your quest to forge thunderbolts from materials. It's touched by both earth and sky. You stand and circle the pit. Letting your torches flicker reveal more of the cavern's wonders. On the far wall, a bas-relief depicts a cloaked figure, likely Rhea holding a bolt-shaped object, offering it to a small child who mirrors your own stature. You press your palm against the aged carving and feel a gentle hum respond, as though the stone itself recognizes you as the rightful heir. It feels like a reassurance from your mother. You have her blessing. The forge welcomes you as its new master. The air around the pit stirs. You know it's time to prepare your materials. From your satchel, you retrieve the silver-tinged cloud core you gathered earlier. Ritz, surface smooth as river stones and cold to your touch. You place it in a shallow trough near the coals, then bring forth the celestial ores mined from Pelions heights. Their crystalline luster glinting even in the dim light. You arrange them beside the cloud core like sacred offerings, the metals resonant with your own heartbeat. You draw a deep breath and extend your palms toward the floodgate's chains. With a firm tug, you lower the gate just enough to channel a steady breeze onto the embers. The coals flare, roaring to life in a cascade of orange and violet tongues. The cavern's temperature spikes, and a wave of heat washes over you, grounding you in the forge's primal energy. You wipe a bead of sweat from your brew, an early sign that the forging will demand both sweat and focus. Guided by the memory of the grotto's distilled stormwater, you uncork the bowl and sprinkle the liquid across the coals in a thin arc. Steam hisses and sparks erupt as droplets of storm memory hiss into the flames. The air fills with a scent of ozone and resin. It's a fragrance that makes your pulse sing. You dip the cloud core into the riot of heat, watching it glow a crystalline blue end, then withdraw it, placing it gently on an anvil carved of moonstone. The glowing core thrums like a creature of pure energy, eager to be shaped. You settle onto a low stone stool and pick up the bronze tongs, grasping the core's edge with firm precision. It hums against the anvil as you lift, waiting for your next move. Picking up the thunderbolt-shaped hammer, you lift it overhead. The weight feels right, neither too heavy nor too light, as if the Stormforge itself calibrated your tool. You bring it down with a steady rhythm, thwack, the resonant clang echoes through the chamber like a gong announcing your arrival. Sparks rain upward, illuminating the vaulted ceiling in staccato bursts. You continue hammering, each strike shaping the core back toward the jagged silhouette of a thunderbolt. The metal flexes beneath your blows, glowing hotter with each pass. Your arms burn with exertion, yet you feel a meditative calm in the repetition. The cadence of hammer on anvil matches your heartbeat and the distant roll of thunder beyond the cavern walls. You pause to wipe the sweat from your brow and close your eyes. Attuning to the forge's hum once more, an academic debate drifts through your mind. Some scholars believe that ancient forges used natural drafts from geological vents to reach higher temperatures, while others argue that mythologizing divine smiths obscured the ingenuity of purely mechanical solutions like bellows and chimney designs. Either way, the Stormforge's clever airflow system unites geology and craftsmanship in a way no ordinary workshop could match. You open your eyes and resume your work, each hammer stroke a blend of human skill and divine legacy. After dozens of strikes, the core's outline matches a thunderbolt's formed stooped arch with jagged prongs branching off like tendrils of lightning. You slip the forging into a basin of cooling water drawn from the grotto's spring, and the metal sings as the temperature plummets, contracting into a steely sheen. The steam carries the lingering notes of cloud and storm, and you inhale deeply. Tasting triumph and anticipation, retrieving the bolt from its bath, you hold it up to the phosphorescent lichen's glow. The metal's surface is a dance of flickering light and shadow, veins of silver glimmering against a backdrop of storm gray. Feels alive in your hands, compact power waiting to be unleashed. You trace the prongs with a fingertip, feeling the smooth polish and proud edges left by your hammer. Standing, you move to the edge of the pit and hold the forged bolt aloft. The cavern growls in response, as if the mountain itself acknowledges your accomplishment. You press the bolt's base to the anvil and tap gently, releasing a final spark that arcs upward, igniting the lichen's glow into a bright cascade of green flames. The runes along the walls pulse in harmony, illuminating the entire chamber in an aurora-like shimmer. You inhale and exhale slowly, hands still raised. The bolt in your grasp is the first true thunderbolt you've forged, an instrument of raw elemental might shaped by your determination, guided by Rhea's map, and tempered in the Stormforge's ancestral fire. A distant thunderclap reverberates through the cavern. It's a natural celebration of your success, with a final nod to the anvils and chains. You sheath the bolt in a leather sling at your side. Your muscles hum with fatigue and exhilaration in equal measure, and you know the path ahead will demand even greater feats. But for this moment, you stand as a creator of lightning itself, mortal whose hands shape the fury of the skies, turning away from the pit. You stride toward the stair that will carry you upward, the newly forged thunderbolt tucked safely by your side. The forge's glow recedes behind you, but its warmth lingers in your bones. You ascend with purpose, heart buoyed by triumph and anticipation for the trials yet to come. Olympus may soon tremble at the sound of your name. You descend the narrow stone staircase that spiraled upward moments ago, letting the echo of your hammer strikes fade into memory as you venture deeper into the mountain's veins. With each step, the air cools and thickens, carrying the damp musk of subterranean dampness and something darker, an undercurrent of brimstone and ancient ash. Torchlight flickers against slick walls, revealing veins of obsidian and charcoal black streaks that hint at the realm below. It feels as though you cross a threshold into a world where light hesitates to follow. Legends say that Hephaestus, the master smith of gods and mortals, forged his great forges beneath volcanic mounts. Mount Etna, in Sicily, being the most famed where fire met earth in eternal dance. Historians still debate whether these fiery myths arose from real volcanic worship or were poetic metaphors for the heat and brilliance of metalworking itself. A hush settles around you as you reach a vast chamber whose ceiling is lost in darkness. The walls glow with faint, ember-like veins of mineral that pulse in time with your heartbeat. Somewhere deep within, a low rumble like distant thunder roar, perhaps a hammer's strike, resonates, compelling you onward. Do you realize this chamber serves as the threshold between the world of the living and the domain of shades? You press your palm to the slick wall, feeling the stone's cool breath, and steel yourself for what lies ahead. An eccentric curiosity surfaces in the medieval era. Blacksmiths who worked with meteorite iron were often suspected of consorting with spirits, since their metal was literally fallen from the sky. Some communities believed these smiths could summon lightning or cure illnesses with their forged wares. Such tales endure today in folklore about star forges and smiths who shape celestial iron. You clench your newly forged thunderbolt at your side and step through an archway carved like a giant maw. Immediately, the temperature drops and the air grows thick with a sulfurous temps. Faint, ghostly wisps drift along the floor like lost souls seeking warmth. The torch in your hand sputters, its flame bending away as if unnerved. Yet you press on, each footstep sending ripples through the stagnant air dot. In the distance, you see a pillar of pale light flickering like a lantern in a black sea. You approach to find a shallow forge pit, its coals long since cold, yet stenciled with the unmistakable shape of a hammer and anvil, the mark of Hephaestus. Above it hangs a wrought iron brazier. Its dragon head supports empty aflame. Recall stories of ancient smithing guilds in Mycenae, where the royal palace's workshops were believed to house sacred forges that burned perpetually, tended by priests and artisans forbidden to mortals. Scholars still argue whether these ever-burning fires were ritualistic lore or cleverly concealed bellows systems fed by hidden vents. This is no mortal workshop. You kneel by the forge pit and draw upon the distilled stormwater in your satchel, pouring a small measure into the brazier's basin. The liquid hisses and evaporates, releasing a plume of pale blue smoke that spirals upward. The ember-like veins in the walls flare brighter, and suddenly a formless heat blooms around. You stand as a figure materializes in the smoke-towering blacksmith's form with molten eyes, wielding a hammer carved from volcanic glass. Hephaestus's spirit stands before you, massive and imposing. Yet there's a weariness in the set of his shoulders and the furrow of his brow. He raises an arm, and ghostly sparks cascade from his fingers. Child of Olympus, his voice rumbles like anvil on iron. Why have you summoned me from the forge's depths? You bow your head in respect, heart thrumming like the bellows of a great hearth. Gathering your courage, you speak in measured tones. Great Hephaestus, I seek your guidance. I have forged my first thunderbolt, yet I crave the mastery that only a divine smith can grant. Will you parley with me, share the secrets of alloy and spark, and temper my creation in flames worthy of Zeus's command? He pauses, the spirit's molten gaze flickering. Few mortals dare tread here, he says, tone wary. Those who enter these depths often leave with more than they bargained for. Tell me, child, do you respect the balance of creation and destruction? You hold up the thunderbolt at your side and feel its weight, both physical and portentous, rest in your palm. Kaidu, you answer solemnly. I understand that power without purpose can devour its wielder. Forged not for war's glory, but to honor the sky's song and protect those under its shelter. At your words, the ghost smith's hammerhead glows faintly, then dims. He steps forward, examining your bolt as though appraising metal's subtle resonance. Mortal heart guided by such conviction is rare, he murmurs. Very well. I will share what I know, but you must demonstrate your worth. He gestures to a massive crucible beside the cold forge. Bring me the celestial ores and cloud core you gathered. We shall refine the alloy to withstand both storm's fury and volcanic heat. You retrieve the ores and cloud core from your satchel, laying them reverently into a stone bowl. Hephaestus's spirit raises his hammer and strikes the anvil beside the crucible. A resonant clang fills the chamber, and fiery embers erupt from the brazier, igniting at last. The iron chains overhead creak as hidden vents open, feeding oxygen into the awakening furnace. The flames burst to life in orange and violet tongues. You and the spirit work in tandem. He stokes the flames with ghostly bellows. You tend the crucible, with your spark fusing the celestial ores into molten silver-blue metal. Hephaestus leans close, murmuring advice on timing and strike force. Patience, he intones, for haste yields brittle metal. Feel the alloy's heartbeat, hammer it when it sings, quench it when its song falters. These words echo the academic debates among metallurgists who argue whether the ancients relied more on empirical intuition or formalized techniques in their workshops. After a prolonged, pulsing surge of heat and hammering, you lift the crucible and pour its contents into a waiting mold shaped like a thunderbolt. The metal flows in liquid arcs, settling into every jagged groove. You breathe in the furnace's roar and feel the molten thunderbolts hum beneath your arm. Hephaestus watches, pride warming his molten eyes. When the metal cools enough to handle, you draw the newly tempered bolt from the mold. It gleams with an inner glow. Veins of violet light tracing its ajiza, testament to the collaboration of divine fire and mortal will. Hephaestus's spirit nods in approval. The forged shape perfectly capturing both your spark's essence and the volcano's heart. He steps back into the swirling smoke, its form dissolving like mist in sunlight. Go forth, Stormbearer. His voice echoes, and wield your thunderbolts with wisdom. Remember this forge's lesson. Strength lies not in force alone, but in the harmony of elements. The chamber dems once more, leaving you alone beside the cooled crucible and the echo of divine counsel. You sheath the spirit-tempered bolt at your side, feeling its balanced weight, the merged legacy of sky and earth. Rising, you return up. The spiraling stair, each step lighter now that you carry Hephaestus's blessing. The forge's threshold recedes behind you, its secrets entrusted to your hands. Dawn light filters through the distant fissure, guiding you back toward the world. Above, where storms await your command, tempered by divine partnership. You emerge from the underworld's hush into the early dawn light, the air crisp with dew and charged with that unmistakable scent of ozone-like. The world itself is holding its breath in anticipation, as your newly tempered thunderbolt rests securely. Near Satchel, its surface still humming with residual violet veins from Hephaestus's divine fires. For a moment, you simply stand at the cave mouth, watching the sky lighten from inky indigo to soft lavender as if some cosmic artist blends. Night into day. Each breath you draw, tastes of renewal and promise. A reminder that the forging beneath the mountain was only the prologue to forging your true power. Ahead, the path forks. One trail winds toward scarred foothills, where rain clouds often gather, and the other climbs a slender ridge curling toward the peaks above. You recall the parchment's guidance seek the silver-tinged cloud that drifts beyond mortal reach, a rare formation said to hold the essence of lightning in liquid form. Such clouds, known to ancient meteorologists as Virga clouds, often reveal themselves at the edges of storm fronts, slanting streaks of precipitation that evaporate before they touch ground. In the 19th century, weather observers noted that Virga could shimmer silver at sunrise, a phenomenon they documented in-field. Journals but still debate whether its sheen comes from ice crystals or microscopic water, droplets reflecting the sun's low rays. Either way, you know you must venture above the tree line to claim this elusive prize. You choose the ridge path, beach steps stirring needles of pine and tufts of grass that glisten like spun glass with morning frost. The slope steepens quickly, and a chill drifts down from the heights, imbuing the air with the promise of alchemitha, union of moisture. Cold in altitude that creates the metallic sheen you seek. Your heart quickens in time with your boots' steady crunch on frosted rock, and you adjust the leather strap of your satchel, ensuring the bolt within doesn't jostle free. This journey requires both caution and eagerness. The cloud won't wait forever. Halfway up, you pause at a jagged outcrop and wipe your brow, even though the air feels cold enough to nip at your skin. Below, the valley's olive groves stretch out like a verdant ocean, their silvery leaves catching the new light in waves. You inhale deeply, savoring the pine sweetness that mingles with highland chilla fragrance, both invigorating and serene. It reminds you of how Greek mountain climbers of old consumed pine resin-infused wines to ward off altitude sickness, mixing primal medicine with ritual. Historians still debate whether those resinous vintages offered genuine health benefits, or simply served as ritualistic comfort for daring ascents. Either way, the scent feels like an ancestral blessing, spurring you upward. As you climb, tufts of mist begin to drift past, curling around your legs in slender streams. These are the first whispers of the cloud you seek, but at this elevation, they dissipate too quickly, evaporating in the sun's low rays. You close your eyes to focus on sensation rather than sight, feeling the mist's cool breath against your cheeks, hearing the faint tick of ice crystals scattering on leaves, and tasting the hint of rain in the air. Such intimate contact with the cloud's edge recalls Homer's descriptions of dawn's rosy-fingered touch, though scholars remain divided on whether his poetic imagery reflects its actual atmospheric observations or purely symbolic language. Pushing past the misty fringe, you reach a narrow shelf of weathered limestone that curves around the mountain's spine. Here, the wind surges in sweeping gusts, roiling like an ocean caught in a storm. You grip a gnarled pine root for stability as a sudden blast of air batters you, carrying flecks of ice that sting your skin. Looking up, you see a ghostly shroud hovering just above the ridge of Virga cloud, so compact that it seems sculpted from silver threads, its undersides gleaming like hammered metal. You can almost hear it humming with latent energy, vibrating, in tune with your own spark. Eccentric curiosity, ancient Roman augurs observed similar clouds as omens, interpreting their silver linings as harbingers of divine favor, or warning of impending tributes owed to the gods. They even fashioned small bronze mirrors to reflect light back into the clouds, believing that by mimicking the sun's rays, they could coax clear weather or concentrate rain where needed. Whether those rituals had any meteorological impact is lost to history, but the connection between reflection, ritual, and weather lore resonates now as you stand beneath this luminous Virga. Determined, you climb onto a flat roost of stone and raise your arms, feeling the full force of the wind press against your tunic and hair. The cloud's droplets refuse to fall to the rocks below. They swirl in a frozen haze just out of reach, suspended by a current of rising warm air. Extend your palms toward the cloud's edge, and a shiver of recognition coils in your spines. Same thrill you felt when you first summoned a spark in the cave corridor. This time, the cloud seems to answer, drifting closer as if drawn by your silent invitation. You recall the nymph's lesson about harmony. Listen to the storm's silent songs, she'd said, and now you strive to emulate a conductor coaxing musicians into unified brilliance. You close your eyes and attune yourself to three layered sensations: the roar of wind over stone, the faint electric crackle on your skin, and the pulsing glow of your bolt's violet runes in its leather sheath. With that trinity resonating in your senses, you open your eyes and press forward. A gentle breeze lifts a veil of mist from the cloud, revealing droplets that glint like mercury beads, each capturing a fragment of sky. With careful focus, you summon a slender filament of your own spark between thumb and forefinger, an echo of the bolt you perfected in the Stormforge. You reach out, aligning the spark's arc with the cloud's base. Instantly, the Virga droplets shiver and condense, drawn toward the filament like iron filings to a magnet. The cloud component warps into a compact orb at the spark's nexus. It's coalescing into something new, a gleaming sphere of metallic water that seems momentarily alive, throbbing with electric potential. It hovers between your hands, cooled by the wind, but glowing faintly with residual thunder. The wind's howl dims to a reverent hush as the sphere settles into perfect balance on your cupped palms. You lean closer, eyes wide in amazement, and touch the orb. It ripples under your finger like liquid moonlight, and an ecstatic jolt races through your veins. It's as though the sky itself has entrusted you with its distilled heart. You gently tuck the sphere into a cushioned leather pouch you carry for just such a discovery, securing it alongside your forged bolt and divine amulet. A distant rumble echoes across the ridge, as though the mountain itself cheers your success. You exhale, shoulders relaxing as adrenaline ebbs into satisfaction. You've captured the metallic cloud core, a living essence capable of forming the heart of future. Thunderbolts even more potent than the one you just forged. In this moment, the boundary between mortal skill and divine alchemy blurs into nothingness. You take a moment to gaze out over the valley below, where silver-tipped olive forests shimmer like wake ripples on glass. The world seems to pulse with renewed clarity, each treetop and rooftop reflecting dawn's light with crystalline precision. You close your eyes, pressing your palms to your temples as if sealing the memory within your mind's vault. The chill wind mingles with the warm memory of the orb, forging a blend of sensations you'll call upon when fire and hammer next call your name. Securing the pouch at your belt, you descend from the ridge with careful steps, each footfall echoing the lesson that power thrives where respect and intent converge. Behind you, the Virga cloud drifts away, its silver whispers fading into open sky. Ahead lies the path back to the forge, now with a metallic cloud core in hand and the promise of bolts that will arch across Olympus like streaks of pure myth. Your destiny unfolds as surely as dawn's first light, and you walk into it with heart and hands brimming with storm-made wonder. You push onward from the ridge's frosty heights, heart steady and mind alight with purpose, until the path narrows into a steep game trail that curls around Pellion's lower slopes. Beneath your boots, the earth feels stony and ancient, flecked with veins of silvery mica that catch the dawn light and beckon you closer. Each step upward tests your balance. Tufts of coarse grass give way to sharp-edged rocks, and the air thins, carrying the scent of mountain thyme and cold granite. You tighten your cloak around your shoulders and draw in a bracing breath, knowing the celestial ores you seek lie hidden somewhere ahead. High above, the pines thin, replaced by twisted oaks whose gnarled roots carpet the ground in a knotted web of bark and soil. Here, shepherds of old left offerings of bread and cheese to Pan, expecting guidance through these rugged slopes. Widely known fact, Mount Pelion in Thessaly was famed in Greek myth as the home of the centaurs, creatures half human, half horse. Renowned for their wild temper and archery skill, scholars still debate whether these centaur legends arose from travelers, spotting local tribes on horseback, or were purely imaginative warnings about mountain dangers. Either way, The mountain's reputation for both magic and peril sharpens your senses as you approach a narrow scree field that slopes down toward a hidden cleft in the rock. You crouch on the lip of the cleft and peer in. Streaks of pale blue and silvery gray glint in the low light, strange glimmering veins that pulse with a promise of power. These must be the star metal ores spoken of in Rhea's map. Metals said to contain trace elements from beyond the mortal forge, fragments of iron from meteorite falls, dust of platinum from deep Earth's crucible, and flecks of quicksilver. Or once prized by alchemists, an eccentric curiosity. Medieval alchemists believed that mixing powdered iron with mercury and lead, then exposing the blend to thunderstorm lightning, yielded a substance called stormtin, reputed to crackle with living electricity. Modern geologists dismiss this as fanciful, noting that elemental mercury evaporates before such reactions could occur. But the legend underscores humanity's age-old urge to blend Earth's metals with the storm's spark. You secure your torch, rope to a sturdy oak, and descend into the cleft, each foothold chosen with care. The walls close in, ridged by centuries of water seepage that smoothed some surfaces and left others sharp as broken glass. As you step deeper, a faint hum tickles your fingertips, as though the rock itself resonates with elemental energy. You extend a hand and brush it along a vein of the blue-gray or quate. It thrums against your palm with a gentle pulse, a buried heartbeat waiting to be woken. Kneeling, you unpack your leather satchel and draw forth the iron hammer and tongs gifted by Hephaestus' spirit. You prod at the earth beneath the vein, uncovering small nodules the size of walnuts. Each nugget glistens with metallic sheen and is cool to the touch, as if the mountain's core imbued it with perpetual chill. You gather one in each pouch of your belt, then test a hammer strike on a rough boulder to loosen more fragments. Chips of ore fly in sparkling arcs, landing at your feet like cosmic confetti. Widely known fact, ancient smiths often used water-powered trip hammers, large weighted hammers lifted by flowing streams to break or into workable sizes. These fulling mills harnessed hydropower long before the Industrial Revolution, triggering debates among historians about technological diffusion across cultures. Some argue that hammer-driven milling spread from China to Europe via trade routes. Others believe it was an independent innovation in multiple regions. Here in Pelian's hidden cleft, you are both smith and miner, relying on your own muscle and magic to coax the ores free. Your satchel now brims with nodules of sky-touched metal, but you sense there is a deeper vein yet to be tapped. You wipe sweat from your brow-eve. The mountain chill cannot quench the warmth of exertion, can shine your torch along the cleft's far wall. There, half hidden behind a curtain of moss, you uncover a narrow seam running diagonally upward, as thin as a dagger's blade, but glimmering with multiple strands of ore intertwined like braided hair. This, you realize, is the celestial alloy you sought, a natural composite of meteorite iron and native silver, woven together by geological forces beyond mortal ken. A hush falls in the cleft as you reach for the seam. You press your ear against the rock and hear nothing but your own breath, and yet, when you close your hand around the seam, it vibrates with low resonance. It is as though the mountain grants its blessing for you to claim this treasure. Draw a deep breath and, with steady strikes of your hammer tipped by your spark's faint glow, you break off a length of the alloy. The fragments arc downward, settling in your pouch with soft clinks that reverberate like a distant chorus. An eccentric curiosity surfaces in 19th century meteorite studies. Researchers found that iron-nickel grains from space often carried microscopic inclusions of glassy silicate of extreme heat and pressure during atmospheric entry. These Widman-Staten patterns appear as geometric arrays when etched in acid, mesmerizing patterns that some metallurgists tried to reproduce in terrestrial steel. Though such experiments yielded stunning visuals, they never replicated the meteorite's true composition. Holding your fragments now, you wonder if the mountain's hidden forge forged its own Widman-Staten-like seams beneath Pelian's scars. Your pouches sagged with the weight of sky-found metal. Your torchlight flutters as you stand to leave. You pause at the mouth of the cleft for one last look. Sunlight filtering through the trees paints dappled patterns on the rocky floor, as though the heavens themselves applaud your success. You slide your satchel strap across your chest and tighten the buckle, feeling the oar's reassuring heft at your side. Scholars still debate whether ancient smithing sites were deliberately hidden in remote mountain clefts to keep their secret safe, or whether they simply followed the best natural deposits, ignoring accessibility. In your case, you recognize the wisdom of both approaches. The oars here are pure, untouched by roadside traffic or curious hands. And the isolation afforded you the quiet focus to mine at your own pace. Pelion has unveiled its hidden treasures. To you mortals' hands guided by divine spark, you turn away from the cleft and begin the climb back down. Each step firmer with the knowledge that these celestial oars will grant your Thunderbolts unmatched strength. The mountain wind kisses your cheeks, carrying the scent of pine and the metallic promise of future creations. With oar and cloud core in hand, you journey back toward the Stormforge, ready to meld sky and stone in the crucible of your destiny. You arrive at a narrow mountain stream where water tumbles over polished stones and chattering cascades, a natural forge quench bath forged by time and flow. The air here is crisp, filled with the mineral temps of glacial melt and the delicate aroma of moss clinging to river-smooth boulders. Kneeling at the stream's edge, you unpack your tools, a shallow iron tray, the newly mined celestial alloys from Pelion's cleft, and your spirit-tempered Thunderbolt core. You know that now comes the vital step of tempering hardening the metal by controlled heating and rapid cooling to impart both resilience and flexibility to your fledgling Thunderbolts in antiquity. Blacksmiths often quenched red-hot metal in oil or water, each medium imparting different hardness. A well-known fact: quenching in water yields a harder but more brittle steel, whereas oil gives a slightly softer yet more durable finish. This principle guided Roman armorers who chose oil to harden gladi blades for battlefield toughness. Historians still debate whether early smiths understood these nuances through systematic experimentation or passed down empirical rules from master to apprentice. You light a small charcoal brazier at the stream's bank, the embers crackling with mellow heat. Using the bronze tongs, you place a length of celestial ore into the glowing coals. The metal glows first orange, then brilliant white as it reaches critical forging temperature. Your spark hums in response, as though eager to guide the metal's transformation. You lift the searing rod of alloy with care and drop it into the iron tray you set in the stream's shallow pool. As the metal hisses and steams, sending plumes of vapor into the cool mountain air. A faint crack echoes too subtle to notice without ears, but it catches your attention as the metal cools in the rushing water. You fish the quench bar out with tongs and inspect its surface. The alloy's color has shifted to a steely gray with faint iridescent sheens where the minerals fused. You tap it gently against a stone. The ring is sharp and clear, but a tiny hairline fissure runs along its length, a hidden crack brought out by the abrupt temperature change. Your heart sinks. Haste has betrayed you. The alloy, borrowed from both sky and earth, requires patience as much as power. A touch of exasperation crosses your brow and you rub the back of your neck. Reminds you of an eccentric curiosity tucked into metallurgical lore. Japanese swordsmiths of the Sengoku period sometimes quenched blades in mixtures of water and sake, believing the rice, wines, sugars, and minerals reduced cracking while infusing the steel with spiritual purity. Though modern analysis questions the actual chemical benefits, the practice speaks to smiths' willingness to experiment creatively with quenching media. You adjust your approach. Back in the stream, you clear the water of swirling sediment and set the iron tray downstream where the flow is gentler. This time, when you heat the alloy, you coax it more slowly to a uniform orange, collating the coals. Tongues lap at its surface without driving it past the white-hot threshold. You hold the bar aloft for a heartbeat, feeling its warmth resonate through your gloves, then slip it into the calmer water with deliberate grace. The resulting hiss is softer, the steam more measured. When you pull the bar from the stream and tap it against the stone, the ring is robust without that telltale crack. You nod in satisfaction, acknowledging that patience tempers not only metal, but the maker. An academic debate stirs in your mind. Some metallurgists argue that ancient smiths' success with quenching hinged on local water chemistry, the mineral content influencing hardness, while others insist that technique and timing outweighed any subtle chemical effects. River waters rich in calcium, like this one, could have unintentionally tempered metal more gently than pure rainwater, yet it's unclear whether smiths recognize this variable or simply refine their methods by trial and error. Either way, you've discovered that context matters as much as technique. Buoyed by success, you repeat the process with a smaller fragment of celestial, or heating it to a fiery glow and submerging it in the gentle current. This time, you crisscross your hammer gently along its length, listening to the ring after each measured strike to gauge temper. With each quench, the alloy's crystalline structure closes tighter, morphing into a substance both resilient and springy, qualities essential for the crackling energy a thunderbolt must contain without shattering upon release. You hold the tempered fragment between your palms, feeling its balanced hardness and subtle flex. It's no longer merely or but potential thunderbolt in miniature, promise of storms to come. The stream's flow murmurs approval as if nodding to your progress. Moss-coated stones frame the pool like ancient guardians. Even the air feels charged with your achievement. Reflections dance across the water's surface, and for a moment, you see echoes of Olympus's towers in the shimmering ripples. You realize that each stage of forging, smelting, hammering, tempering mirrors the trials of the gods. Slow-burning coal for perseverance. Anvil strikes for trial and error, controlled, quench for balanced wisdom. Your own journey becomes etched into each bar of alloy you refine, as the sun inches higher. You complete your tempering trials and lay the successful bars on a flat rock to drain. Their surfaces glow faintly in the morning light, like captured sunlight. Your muscles hum with satisfaction, the rhythmic labor having tuned your mind as finely as the metal's edge. You gather the tempered pieces, stowing them carefully in your satchel beside your forged thunderbolt, knowing these fragments will be vital in constructing multiple lightning weapons of unmatched quality. Standing, you stretch, feeling a sense of calm focus in your bones. The stream's gentle roar offers a serene counterpoint to the forge's earlier clamor. You fill a water skin and lean back against a boulder, savoring the misty cool of the mountain runoff. Ahead lies the next challenge, combining these tempered alloys with the cloud core and the spark's essence to craft thunderbolts fit for Olympus. The path grows steeper and the tasks more demanding, but with patience, you've learned here, you'll temper both metal and self in equal measure. You sling your satchel, take one last sip of cold water, and follow the stream upstream toward the mountain's heart. Each step reverberates with the equilibrium you've forged between haste and Karen, equilibrium that will define every thunderbolt you summon and every storm you command. You pause on a rocky outcrop where the cliff suddenly widens into a natural amphitheater of stone, its walls curving overhead like the ribs of a colossal beast. Here, the wind has carved grooves and hollows into the rock, creating an acoustic chamber that amplifies even the faintest sound. You settle onto a flat ledge and lay out your tempered alloy bars, the cloud core sphere, and your tools at your side. The air is stilling in anticipation, as if the mountain itself has hushed to listen. You pick up one of the alloy bars between your palms and tap it gently with your thunderbolt-shaped hammer. The sound that emerges is not a simple ring, but a rich, layered resonance, a deep bass note that thrums in your chest, overlaid with higher crystalline overtones that dance through the air like distant birdsong. It reminds you of Aeolian harp-stringed instruments invented by the Greeks that harnessed the wind to produce music by vibrating taut chords in open windows. Those ghostly melodies drifted through antiquity, chanting listeners with tunes born of pure airflow rather than human touch. Scholars still debate whether Aeolian harps were conceived as musical novelties or held spiritual significance as oracles of the winds will. Either way, the notion of wind-generated song echoes in your ears now, guiding your craft. You close your eyes and let the bar's resonance wash over you. Each hammer tap yields subtle shifts in pitch and timbre, revealing hidden fault lines or pockets of density within the metal. When you strike too sharply, the tone flattens into a dull thud. Too softly, and the note is lost in the hollow. You learn the bar's dialect. A controlled, mid-strength tap produces a pure whistle of high overtones, a signal that the metals crystalline structure is aligned and ready for shaping. An eccentric curiosity comes to mind. Medieval blacksmiths in Northern Europe would sometimes hang a small copper bell near their anvils, listening for its clear peal to judge when the metal reached the proper temperature and hardness. These smiths' bells served as a makeshift acoustic thermometer, translating thermal and structural changes into music. You imagine your own Thunderbolt bars singing like divine instruments, tuned by both spark and hammer to the perfect frequency for lightning's birth. Guided by these aural cues, you select the stoutest bar and place it on a sun-warmed anvil, fashioned from granite. The cloud core glimmers at your side, its silvery surface reminding you of the sky's liquid breath. You draw your spark into your fingertips, feeling its electric hum synchronize with the alloy's resonance. With a breath that steadies heart and wind, you raise the hammer and strike. The impact unleashes a cascade of notes, the low growl of the granite anvil, the bright ping of copper additives in the alloy, and the ethereal whine of the spark as it courses through the bar. The combination is like an otherworldly choir. Do you feel it reverberate through your limbs, weaving into your blood until every cell pulses in time with the metal's heartbeat? Historians note that ancient Greek amphitheaters were designed with remarkable acoustics, allowing a single unamplified voice to reach thousands without distortion. Whether by accident or inspired genius, those architects mirrored the harmony. You now invoke between instrument and performer. Each strike shapes the bar closer to the graceful arc of a lightning bolt. The main shank gains definition, and tiny protuberances form into branching prongs. After every few blows, you pause to listen, letting the bar's song confirm the integrity of your work. When the tone rings with a clear, sustained trill, neither hollow nor muted, know the metal's internal stresses have aligned, and the shape is structurally sound. Between hammer strokes, you brush away the glittering shards of scale that flake off the metal like quicksilver snow. These fragments carry a faint charge, crackling softly when they fall, and you gather a handful to let them sift through your fingers. Each tiny spark that dances across your palm is like a memory of storms past, fleeting, bright, and utterly alive. You let them disappear into the breeze, a reminder that raw energy must be tempered and released in careful measure. An academic debate surfaces. Metallurgists argue whether ancient smiths relied primarily on visual color, cues observing the metal's glow to judge its workability, or whether they possessed a more nuanced acoustic sense honed through generations in the forge. Some contend that ear training was the forgotten skill of master smiths, while others believe color and touch were sufficient. Now, as you forge this thunderbolt, you blend sight, sound, taste, and sensation into a unified craft, embodying the best of both worlds. After a final series of strikes, you lift the bar to rest atop the anvil's swallowtail notch. You tap it lightly, once more. The note rings pure and full, an unbroken chord that seems to spill into the surrounding cliffs. The distant snowcap peaks in the early sun, and its crystalline surfaces catch the sound, sending faint echoes ricocheting back like an ovation from the mountains themselves. You smile, heart swelled with satisfaction. The bar has become more than a length of alloy. It is a resonant conduit for storm's melody, ready to channel the crackling arc of lightning. Carefully you transfer it to a bed of moss-lined twigs, letting it cool slowly in the shade of quenching that preserves its sonic clarity and structural grace. As you tend the cooling bolt, you set aside the remaining alloy fragments for future constructs and turn your attention to the cloud core. Its silvery sphere lies nestled in the hollow of a lichen-covered rock, appearing momentarily inert until you run a fingertip over its surface. A faint hum responds, echoing the alloy's resonance and confirming their compatibility, a duet of sky and stone waiting to unite. You pick up the core and place it on the anvil, surrounding it with the newly forged bolt's shavings. The spark in your fingertips flares with anticipation, and you strike the core once, then twice. Each impact yields a pure, bell-like ring that harmonizes with the bar's deeper tones. The core's surface fissures ever so slightly, revealing glimmering veins of condensed virga that your touch seeded. The combined melody of alloy and core feels like the prelude to thunder itself, symphony of elements ready to crescendo into the bolt you will soon wield. You close your eyes, letting the vibrations settle into your bones, forging an unspoken bond between maker and masterpiece. In this moment, you recognize that true craftsmanship lies not only in shaping matter, but in listening to its innate song and guiding it to its fullest expression, rising. You gather both pieces carefully, wrapping them in a leather cloth scenting of pine and ozone. You secure them in your satchel, ready for the final forging steps back at the Stormforge's heart. The amphitheater stones stand silent now, but their contours still pulse with the faint afterglow of your melody and echo of your mastery. That the mountain will bear witness to long after you have moved on, with one last glance at the hollowed arena where wind and echo converged. You step away, each footfall a soft percussion in the natural symphony. The path ahead beckons the final forging trials await, where music and metal will unite to give birth to thunderbolts worthy of Olympus. You carry the storm's true melody within you now, a guidepost that will shape every hammer strike and spark until your creation holds the sky's furious beauty in its grasp. You return to the Stormforge's grand cavern? Stepping through the archway as the phosphorescent lichens glow welcomes you back into its vaulted embrace. The anvils and floodgates loom like silent sentinels, their runes pulsing faintly at the edges. In your satchel lie to central pieces, the resonant alloy bolt formed on the mountaintop amphitheater, and the core of condensed virga you coaxed from the silver-tinted cloud. Your heart thrums with anticipation, for this is the moment when spark, metal, and magic converge into a singular instrument of thunder. You circle the central pit and set your supplies on a flat slab of polished marble. The floodgates' chains hang motionless above, and you know that summoning their wind will stoke the forge's might. Drawing on Hephaestus's counsel, you tug the chains until a low creak yields to a rush of air, whipping the coals within. The pit into blue-white flares. The cavern's temperature spikes, heat waves dance along the floor, and the anvil's surface warms beneath your boots. Next, you retrieve the iron tray of tempered celestial alloys bars, now cooled and ready for melting, and place them, along with the bolt you shaped, into the forge's deepest embers. The metals hiss and meld, shedding sparks like fireflies freed from a jar. You lean in, feeling the roar of combustion echo through your bones, and inject your spark directly into the molten pool. The electric energy arcs through the glowing metal, weaving a lattice of lightning and ore. For a heartbeat, time seems suspended. You witness the fusion of elements in vivid color. Silver liquid surges around veins of willow-gray alloy, flickering with arcs of pale blue light and electric current dancing through molten metal. You sense the very essence of storm stirring within the crucible, alive and eager to be shaped. When the metal's glow shifts to pure white, you know forging window has arrived. Summoning all your strength, you seize the crucible with spirit-tempered tongs and pour the molten mixture into the bolt-shaped mold carved from moonstone. The liquid arcs gracefully, filling every crevice of the jagged design. Steam hisses as cool air meets molten metal, and the mold vibrates with a deep, resonant hum. You let the bolt cool just enough to handle its surface luminous but solidoned, draw it from the mold. In your hands, it feels smooth, warm, and imbued with an electric pulse that resonates with your very soul. Faint veins of virga run along its length, glinting silver in the forge's light. You cradle it reverently, feeling the weight of thunder, resting in your palm, turning to the anvil. You lay the newly cast bolt across its face and raise your hammer. A last series of delicate strikes will finalize its form. Each tap hones the edges, polishes the facets, and aligns its crystalline structure. Sparks fly like shooting stars, and with every blow, the bolt's song grows clearer. A chorus of deep, rolling notes underscored by a bright tingle. After the final strike, you step back and hold the thunderbolt aloft. It radiates power, quiet, contained, yet undeniably potent. A distant thunderclap answers its presence, as if the mountain itself acknowledges your masterpiece. The forge's runes glow in unison, tracing lightning shapes that mirror your creation. You sheath the bolt in a leather wrap scented with pine and ozone, grateful for every lesson learned. The playful breezes of the cave, the crackle of your first spark, the nymph's melodies, the cloud's essence, the mountain's oars, and Hephaestus's guiding forge. All have converged into this moment, forging not just a weapon, but the embodiment of your journey. Stepping toward the stairway, you pause at the forge's entrance, turning once to imprint the cavern's grandeur on your memory. The air crackles with residual energy, and the anvil's echo lingers like a heartbeat in the stone, clutching your thunderbolt. You begin the ascent each step, echoing the promise of storms you will soon unleash upon the world. You step back into the Stormforge's grand cavern, leaving behind the crisp mountain air for the warm breath of ancient fire. Phosphorescent lichen along the walls pulses softly, casting the vaulted ceiling in waves of emerald and gold. Floor beneath your boots hums with residual energy from your previous visits, as though the cavern itself remembers each hammer stroke and spark of your journey. In your satchel lie the two central components of your ultimate creation: the resonant alloy bolt, U-shaped in the amphitheater of stone, and the condensed Virga core harvested from the silver-tinted cloud. Today, these pieces and your own spark will converge into a true thunderbolt, circling the central forge pit. You arrange your supplies on a polished marble slab beside the floodgate's chains. The brazier's embers glow faintly, a promise of the inferno you will soon unleash. You pause to inhale the air's rich scent of hot metal and ozone, an intoxicating fragrance that primes your senses. A widely known fact: classical Greek smithies employed bellows to amplify airflow into their forges, sometimes using oxide bags driven by foot pedals to raise temperatures beyond 200 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt bronze and even early iron alloys. Historians still debate whether these methods were purely technological innovations or inspired by mythic concepts of divine breath fueling the forge's heart. As you grip the floodgate's chains, you feel the weight of that tradition in your hands. Drawing on Hephaestus's counsel, you tug the chains firmly, and with a groaning creak, the gates descend. A cascade of wind roars into the coals below, igniting them into a dance of violet and gold tongues. The cavern's temperature spikes instantly. Heat waves shimmer off the forge's lip, and the air buzzes with charged particles. Shield your eyes from the brightness and step closer, the thrill of creation quickening your pulse. Next, you extract the tempered alloy bars from your satchel, each one a testament to patience and precision, and place them on the anvil's surface. To test their fit, the resonant bolt from the amphitheater lies atop them, its curved shank and branching prongs gleaming faintly under the lichen's glow. You nod in satisfaction. These metals, born of mountain depths and mountain winds, will meld with the clouds. Liquid essence into something greater than the sum of their parts. An eccentric curiosity moves through your mind. Medieval European alchemists once attempted to capture lightning's power by throwing metal rods into storm clouds known as storm forges, hoping the resulting arcs would transmute base metals into gold. Although modern scientists dismiss these attempts as superstition, the desire to blend sky fire and earthly matter echoes in your work now, reminding you that obsession with lightning is nothing new. You retrieve the cloud core sphere, its surface, cool and smooth as carved marble. Held in your palm, it hums with faint electricity and echo of the Virga cloud's condensed heart. Placing it between the alloy bars, you feel the elements align. Earth's strength cradles sky's promise. Taking a slow breath, you draw your spark into your fingertips, the electric hum swelling in your veins as though lightning itself courses through your bloodstream. Balance, you whisper, recalling the nymph's lesson that power untempered can fracture. You steady your grip and plunge the core and alloys into the forge's gaping mouth. They sizzle and hiss as molten heat envelops them, sparks raining like captured fireflies. You step back, letting the forge's roar wash over you. Let your spark flow in, guiding the electric current into the molten pool. The metal blazes, white hot, and you see threads of pale blue lightning weave through liquid silver and storm gray alloyan, incandescent tapestry of raw energy. When the molten mixture glows with a steady, even light, you know the moment has come. Gripping your spirit-tempered tongs, you lift the crucible of molten thunder to the moonstone mold carved in the shape of a jagged bolt. You pour with deliberate grace, watching the metal arc into every crevice, filling each branch and prong. Steam hisses as the molten mass meets the cool mold, and the rock vibrates with a low reverberation, a final echo of the Stormforge's collective voice. While the bolt cools, you remove the remaining alloy fragments to let them drain, then prepare for the finishing work. The mold's surface darkens as the metal solidifies. Through several minutes, you gently tap the mold's side with your hammer, releasing the bolt with a resonant ring. In your hands, it is warm and alive, veins of condensed virga glinting silver against its steely form. You cradle it reverently. This is the culmination of wind's whispers, embers glow, mountains gifts, and divine smithing. You place the bolt on the anvil and raise your hammer for the final shaping. Each delicate tap hones its edges and polishes its facets. Sparks fly in white arcs, and you guide each stroke with careful precision, listening for the bolt's song. An academic debate surfaces. Some scholars argue that ancient smiths relied primarily on visual cues, the color changes of heated metal to judge forging progress, while others argue that master smiths possessed an acoustic sense, discerning metal quality through sound. Today, you synthesize both schools. Your eyes gauge the glowing metal's color. Your ears catch its resonance. And your fingertips sense its subtle vibrations. After a final series of strikes, you step back and hold the thunderbolt aloft. It radiates an inner glow, the virga veins pulsing in faint rhythm with your heartbeat. Feel the power humming through your palm, a living conduit of skies, fury, and Earth's endurance. A distant thunderclap rolls across the mountain. Natural applause that shivers through the cavern's walls, laughing softly. You sheath the thunderbolt in its leather wrap, the scent of pine and ozone clinging to your gloves. You glance around the forge one last time, anvils etched with lightning runes, chains poised to unleash wind, and the cradle of marble where raw elements became divine instrument. Each feature bears the imprint of your journey from the caves. First spark to this crowning creation with measured steps. You head for the spiraling stairway that will carry you back to daylight. Each footfall resonates in the vaulted space like a final note in a symphony. You pause at the threshold, turning to imprint the forge's grandeur upon your memory. The air hums with latent energy, and the lichen's glow seems brighter, as though celebrating your triumph. Beyond this passage lies the open sky, where storms gather and lightning dances. Armed with your thunderbolt, you will claim your destiny among the clouds, a mortal child of Olympus, armed with crafted lightning. The world awaits the crack of your bolt and the roll of your thunder. With heart alight and hand steady, you ascend toward dawn, ready to unleash the storm's true voice upon a world unaccustomed to your power. You stand at the lip of the forge's marble cradle, thunderbolt in hand, ready to test its might against the sky. The cavern air is dense with expectation. Members glow dimly in the pit, and the runic walls pulse in silent rhythm as though the forge itself holds its breath. You grip the bolt's polished shaft firmly, feeling the cool virga veins press into your palm like living tendrils of storm, drawing a steadying breath. You stride to the cavern's mouth and brace yourself on the wine-lashed ledge that overlooks the valley below. Raising your arm in salute, you hurl the bolt skyward with all the force your sinewy muscles can muster. It arcs in a brilliant curve, trailing pale blue sparks that dance like fireflies against the dark rock. You watch, heart alight, as it sails. Higher than any mortal throw should manage until, midway, the bolt shudders violently as though struck by an invisible hammer. A jagged snap echoes through the air, and the bolt fractures clean in two, tumbling back towards you in twin arcs of light. Time seems to slow-motate as you catch the broken pieces in mid-one, half-clutched in each hand. The vibrant pulse of power you expected to feel vanishes in an instant, replaced by a quiet emptiness and a sharper ache. Frustration. You stagger back, breath catching in your throat, and press the halves together. They fit, but the jagged seam gapes like a wound, betraying the bolt's brittle center. A widely known fact nags at the edge of your memory. Medieval European armors, forged from high-carbon steel, were prone to catastrophic failure if quenching was too abrupt, sometimes shattering under a single arrow's impact. Battles were lost not only to swords, but to the very materials intended to protect. Historians still debate whether such failures were due to inconsistent techniques, passed down by guilds, or simply the unpredictable nature of early metallurgy. Either way, even the finest crafted steel could betray its maker at the moment of truth. You sink to one knee on the ledge's cool stone, weighing the bolt halves in your palms like mourning tokens. The wind's howl seems harsher now, mocking your hubris. A tiny bead of moisture trickles down your temple, no sweat, but a tear you refuse to wipe away. You cradle the halves, fingertips brushing the splintered edges, and a wave of doubt sweeps through your mind. Have you pushed your craft beyond its limits? Was your timing in the forge flawed? Did you overconfidently bind the sky's power into mortal metal? Shaking your head, you force your lungs to fill with the valley's crisp air. You remind yourself that failure is as ancient as forging itself. An eccentric footnote drifts to mind. Renaissance era Italian swordsmiths sometimes purposely nicked their blades' edges to test for hidden weaknesses called fear cuts, knowing that a hairline crack could propagate under stress, giving them insight into a sword's true integrity before battle. If those blades passed the test, they did so with quiet confidence. If they failed, the smith returned to the forge with renewed resolve. You rise, folding the broken halves together and examining them under the pale glow of a phosphorescent lichen patch near the cavern entrance. Tiny fissures radiate from the break, each one catching light like a spider silk. Run a fingertip along a slender crack and feel the hairlines crisp. Keja, tactile reminder that precision matters as much as power. You breathe deeply, reciting sacred syllables you learned from the nymph's flute melody, grounding yourself in harmony rather than haste. Determined to understand what went wrong, you retrace your steps to the forge's heart. Beneath the anvil's swallowtail slot, you lay out your tools and ingredients anew: charcoal for rekindling the fire, water for quenching patience, and your remaining tempered alloy bars. You tuck the broken bolt halves into your satchel knot as trophies of shame. But as case studies for the lessons you'll glean back at the forge, the pit's embers have cooled to glowing coals. You stoke them with fresh charcoal and reignite. The floodgates wind, coaxing the flames back to violet brilliance. The cavern warms again, then the runes on the walls pulse in tandem with your heartbeat, a silent choir ready to accompany your next overture. You place the alloy bars and cloud core sphere in the fire's maw. It's time dividing them. Half for forensic analysis, half for another forging trial. As the metals melt, you crouch by the pit's edge and peer into the glowing crucible. The molten mixture dances in waves of silver and storm gray, lit by pale blue arcs of your spark. You fish out a tiny droplet of the pool with an iron skewer and let it cool in instant microbolt to examine. Gently, you tap the droplet with a gloved finger, listening for its tone. The note rings sharp but hollow, indicating a subtle imbalance in the alloy's composition. You furrow your brow, recalling the amphitheater's acoustic lesson. A perfect note demands perfect harmony of elements. An academic debate swirls in your mind. Some metallurgists argue that the presence of trace copper can strengthen steel's grain structure if kept below 0.4%, while others maintain that any copper in high-temperature alloys invites brittleness under stress. The ancient smiths had no spectrometer. They relied on empirical rules like, add a pinch of this, avoid a handful of that. Your own experiments now hinge on such fine margins. Clarity dawns. In your haste to bind storm and sky, you may have over-enriched the alloy with cloud core impurities, disrupting the metal's crystalline lattice. To correct this, you decide to temper a new batch with slightly less cloud core and more mountain alloy. Adjusting proportions is delicate work. It's like composing a symphony with one note too. Many or too few can topple the entire chord. You measure the ores on a small stone scale, eyeballing the cloud sphere's fragments with careful restraint. You pour 2 small alloy bars into the molten crucible, then chip away precisely 1/4 of the core sphere's surface into the mix, a fraction less than before. The crucible thrums in response, receptive to the revised proportions. You raise your spark and feed it into the molten pool, guiding the electric current to weave through the metal with a measured cadence. As you tug the floodgates, chain 2. Stoke the flames, you whisper. Patience, precision, purpose. The fire flares, and the metals blend into a luminescent swirl of white-hot brilliance. When the molten tempest stills, you draw the crucible from the pit and pour it into a fresh moonstone mold. Steam rises in soft spirals, and the mold hums with anticipation. The bolt emerges moments later, still warm, alive with pale blue veins that glint like captive lightning. You lay it upon the anvil and raise your hammer, each strike deliberate, tuned by the lessons of earlier mistakes. Sparks rain gently, and the bolt's song emerges full-bodied, a clear, resonant chord unmarred by flat notes. It sings of balance, raw power harnessed by meticulous craft. You test it again on the forge's ledge, hurling it into the sky. This time, it arcs true, trailing a gentle crackle before plunging back like a falling star. You catch it in both, hands one, palm cradling its smooth shank, the other gripping its jagged tip. The bolt is whole. You went your fingers along its length, marveling at the harmonious fusion of sky and stone. Frustration has transformed into wisdom. Failure has been tempered into mastery. Laughing softly, you press the bolt's tip to a runic anvil, tapping out a final note that resonates through the cavern in a triumphant chord. The Stormforge's walls glow in return, acknowledging your success. You sheath the bolt in its leather wrap, every fiber scented with pine and ozone. Tuck it securely at your side. The broken halves remain in your satchel, a reminder that true power demands both strength and subtlety, audacity and care. You rise, shoulders squared, and step away from the forge toward the spiraling stair. Each footfall echoes not with the sting of failure, but with the steady rhythm of a craftsman who has learned patience and precision through trial by thunder. You emerge from the Stormforge's mouth into a broad sunlit field where tall grasses ripple like liquid gold under the noon sun. Each stalk curves and dips in a rhythmic sway, as though the earth itself were breathing a slow, expansive sigh. At the field's far edge, against the horizon's blue, you glimpse faint pinpricks of light, shards of Stormforged glass glinting where they've rained down after your last trial. These are the residual fragments of your Thunderbolts, early arcs crystallized lightning that settled here, each shard still humming with latent energy. Today, you'll chase these glowing remnants and learn how miniature storms respond to your touch. Stepping into the field, feel the warm breeze ripple across your skin, carrying the scent of sun-warmed hay and distant time. It's widely known. In fact, Florentine farmers in the Renaissance believed that lightning-struck fields produced more vigorous crops, attributing it to the soil's sudden infusion of energy. They harvested and sold such Zeus grains at premium prices, though modern agronomists debate whether any yield increase arose from mineral changes or simply from the lore-driven care farmers gave those plots. You scan the swaying grasses, spotting a cluster of shards half buried where the land dips into a shallow hollow. You brush aside loose stalks and uncover the first piece, a crescent of glass no larger than your palm, its surface etched with branching lightning veins that glow faintly bluish-white. When you lift it, a tiny vortex of wind spirals around the shard, pulling blades of grass into a miniature cyclone that whistles through the hollow like a harp. You laugh at the shard's impromptu performance. It's as though the fragment still remembers the storm that birthed it. An eccentric curiosity flits through your mind in medieval England. Alchemists attempted to bottle the essence of lightning by collecting storm-shattered glass and steeping it in vinegars and oils, hoping to extract storm spirits for use in medicines and magics. Some recipes called for the glass to be ground under moonlight, while others insisted on chanting prayers during rainfall. Whether any concoction held more power than the placebo effect is lost to history, but the practice underscores humanity's eternal drive to capture lightning's mystery in mortal hands. You pocket the shard and move on, boots crunching through the grass. Each step is cushioned by the field's gentle undulations, and the hollow's miniature tornado fades into the air as you advance, leaving only a whisper of wind. How soon you spot another cluster of shards gleaming like scattered stars across. A small rise, you sprint toward them, feeling a thrill akin to a child chasing fallen fireflies. Though these lights possess a living spark, As you run, the breeze intensifies, swirling around you in playful eddies. You stretch out your hands and feel the wind respond, lifting grass seeds and petals into spiraling patterns. The energy feels familiar, an echo of every spark and gale you've mastered so far. Beneath your feet, the field's golden waves ripple outward, creating shallow troughs where pockets of air swirl into whirls. You follow these natural channels, weaving between grasses like a leaf dancing on a stream, till you reach a wide patch where dozens of shards glint in mottled clusters. You crouch and scoop up a handful of these crystalline slivers, each one humming beneath your fingertips. When you touch them together, they crackle in greeting, sending tiny sparks that flash like fireflies before vanishing. The shards seem eager to be reunited with your stormcraft, each fragment a miniature conduit for wind and lightning. You rise, clutching your luminous bounty, and raise your face to the sun. A low rumble stirs on the horizon, an echo, rather than a storm, yet the shards you carry thrum in resonance. You hold one in front of your chest and coax your spark through your fingers. The shard flares, projecting a miniature lightning arc that leaps into the air and vanishes in a hiss. You guide the arc toward a small patch of grass, and instantaneously, a localized downpour of rain droplets forms above the blades, each drop glowing faintly before soaking into the earth. Birds scatter at the sudden shower, then return moments later, as if unperturbed by the mini-storm you commanded. An academic debate surfaces in your mind. Some meteorologists argue that microbursts in small-scale downdrafts can be triggered by localized heating, while others maintain that only larger mesoscale dynamics can produce such phenomena. Your own miniature showers, however brief, suggest you can conjure microweather at will, an interplay of heat, ionization, and wind that defies standard theories. Emboldened, you scatter more shards across the field. Each one you place hums in anticipation, poised to unleash its latent power at your command. You press your spark-laden palms to the ground, then the wind ripples outward, stirring the grasses into concentric circles. Then, with a dramatic sweep of your arms, you release your spark into the nearest shard. It detonates in a soft bloom. A violet flash, sending a ring of warm air whipped by the shard's core outward like ripples on water at the edge of this ring. Thin mist condenses, forming a hazy ribbon that drifts a few feet above the grass. The ribbon spins in place, gathering droplets that wink into existence and vanish before they fall. You stride into the center of this ring and trace a path that shapes the mist's movement. First, a spiral, then a zigzag, then a perfect circle. Each gesture sculpts the shard-driven storm, teaching you how wind patterns respond to motion and intention. Between experiments, you study the shards closely. Under the sun, you see faint inclusions, tiny bubbles of trapped air, microfractures, reminiscent of fern-like snow crystals and specks of iron that glitter like stardust. You recall the 19th century discovery that some fulgurites tubular glass formations created when lightning strikes sand contain distinct isotopic signatures from the Earth's surface. These natural lightning sculptures bear witness to storms, searing heat and immense power. Your shards, crafted by your own hands' mastery, are echo chambers for that same fury. As the sun dips closer to the horizon, the field glows in the golden hour's warm light. You gather the remaining shards into a woven satchel and stand at the crest of the highest rise. A final test beckons. You will attempt to weave all the shards' energies into a single, coherent mini-storm that dances across the field like a living tapestry. You scatter the shards in a broad circle, palms raised to the sky. You close your eyes and inhale deeply, drawing in the field's scent, dry grass, ozone from distant rain, and a hint of the mountain's pine. You attune to 6 sensory threads, the shard's individual hums, the whispering wind, the field's soft vibrations, the sun's waning warmth, the distant thunder's echo, and the latent charge in your own blood. With all 6 aligned, you open your eyes and unleash your spark into the center of the circle. Instantly, the shards erupt in a chorus of pale blue arcs, each leaping toward its neighbor to form a swirling helix of lightning filaments. The grass beneath your feet bends before the charge, creating a moving pathway of mist and pulsing illumination. The helix grows, spiraling outward until it spans the width of the field, luminous storm thread that shimmers like living silver. You step into the ribbon, arms outstretched, and let the miniature storm sweep around you. It whistles in your ears like 1,000 fireflies, yet its power is gentle and electric embrace that tickles your skin. You guide the storm thread forward, leading it across the field like a dancer guiding ribbons in the wind. As it moves, droplets of luminous rain fall from its coils, leaving behind glowing rings on the grass that fade after a breath. A hush falls over the field as the storm thread completes its circuit and returns to you. You catch the helix's end in your palm, and the entire structure collapses into a single shard whose glow has deepened to a steady pulse. You tuck it into your satchel, heart pounding with exhilaration and satisfaction. The field resumes its golden sway, as though nothing extraordinary occurred, yet you know better. Each stalk bears the memory of wind-formed patterns. Each blade carries the echo of your storm's dance. Laughing softly, you survey the field's gentle undulations. Your path forward is clear. These shards, now attuned to your command, will become inlays in future Thunderbolt sparks of living storm embedded in crafted steel. With your satchel full of these tiny symphonies of weather, you turn toward the path leading back to the Stormforge, ready to merge your newfound insights with the Forge's ancestral fire. Each footstep carries the field's whisper that storms can be shaped as art, and that every fragment of lightning, no matter how small, holds within it the story of sky and earth woven together by hands willing to listen. You walk on, eager for the next chapter of forging thunder, knowing that even the golden fields themselves now dance to your command. You drift into sleep beside the embers of your latest forge fire, reclined on a bed of ash-dusted furs where the scent of pine resin and heated metal lingers like a comforting lullaby. Your breathing slows, and the cavern's phosphorescent glow fades into indigo shadows until a single spark flickers at the edge of your vision, soft at first, then growing brighter until it casts the entire chamber in electric twilight. Sit up, heart fluttering like a hummingbird's wings, and follow the spark as it dances along the walls, leaving trails of pale blue in its wake. Suddenly, the world shifts. The cavern's stone archways melt away, replaced by a soaring hall of blacksmith steel and volcano-forged iron. Molten rivers flow beneath wrought iron bridges. The air shimmers with heat, causing distant anvils to ring in a distant echo. The hall's center stands Hephaestus himself, massive, radiant, flame-wreathed, his molten hammer eyes fixed upon you. His presence vibrates through the floor like a bass drum, and you feel the soft sting of metal-tinged warmth on your skin. Child of thunder, he bellows, voice rolling like an anvil struck with cosmic force. You have mastered spark and storm, but the alloy of destiny demands refinement. His hammer strikes the air, sending ripples of incandescent sparks dancing across the molten rivers. Tonight, I gift you riddles to temper your craft. Answer them, and your thunderbolts will sing with perfect harmony. You swallow, threads of awe and excitement tangling in your chest. I'm ready, great smith, you reply, voice steady despite adrenaline crackling at your fingertips. Hephaestus nods, and the rivers hush to a gentle sigh as he presents the first riddle, blend. The metal that mirrors the whale's song with the sky's purest tears. Let the ratio be as the grains on a beach, yet not a grain more nor less. What balance preserves strength without fracture? You ponder the riddle as sparks drift like falling stars. The whale's song hints at cobalta deep-sea alloy, revered for its blue hue, while the sky's purest tears evoke silver-tipped cloud virga. You recall that late 19th century metallurgists discovered cobalt-silver alloys resist saltwater corrosion, a fact that transformed naval engineering. Historians still debate whether those innovations launched modern submarine hulls or merely influenced decorative metalwork. But the lesson rings clear. Balance cobalt's hue with silver's luster in precise measure. Hephaestus watches your eyes flicker with recognition. Correct, he intones, and the molten rivers shimmer as though warmed by your insight. He raises his hammer, and the arena's walls pulse with bright veins of metal, forming the second riddle in glowing script. temper not in fire alone, nor in water's embrace. Seek the element born when lightning kisses sand. Integrate it thrice. Fourfold or fifth yet, judged by the bolt's voice when quenched. How do you know when enough is enough? You trace the riddle's letters with a fingertip, feeling their heat. It's a phrase, lightning kisses sand, conjures fulgurite those. Glassy tubes formed when lightning melts soil. You remember reading that some Central Asian metallurgists mixed ground fulgurite into bronze to increase tensile strength, though modern lab tests yield mixed results. Scholars still discuss whether the fulgurite truly contributed mechanical benefits or whether its role was largely symbolic, an alchemical flourish in the art of metal making. Hephaestus's gaze flickers. Indeed, he rumbles, and the molten rivers flow faster, sending arcs of white-hot metal into the sky. The bolt's voice is the ultimate judge. Listen for the timbre that neither cracks nor dulls. He pauses, hammer poised and deeper. Shadows swirl to reveal the third riddle, scrawled in molten rivulets. Carve your symbol in both alloy and spark. Let the rune of the storm guide your strike. Trace 3 glyphs of might upon white-hot grain, then quench or leave, according to the song. Which rune ensures the bolt's path true? Your mind races through the runic symbols you traced in the amphitheater, caves, petroglyph spirals, and the bolt-shaped carvings on the mountain pillars. You recall the spiral rune ancient, symbolizing life's cycle, often used by Minoan smiths as a protective charm on bronze shields. Historians still argue whether those spirals were purely decorative or served a talismanic purpose to deflect blows in battle. You realize the answer? Inscribe the lightning glyph itself, the shape of the arrowed bolt 3 times on the red-hot metal, allowing the runes to imprint their structural blessing before quenching. Hephaestus's hammer falls, and the hall. Jakes. Well answered, he declares, eyes alight with molten fire. You have proven your mastery of alloy, tempering, and symbolic cohesion. The bolt of destiny awaits your final touch. With a wave of his hammer, the rivers part, and a single massive crucible emerge, its surface covered in runic etchings, now glowing with ethereal light. Hephaestus steps aside, and you approach, heart pounding like a smith's bellows. Lift the crucible's lid to reveal the molten thunderbolt you forged, the perfect fusion of celestial alloys, cloudcore virga, and tempered metal. It glows a steady, white-hot intensity, its veins of pale blue dancing across its surface. Now, heeding his riddles, you reach for the cobalt silver ingots and carefully fold them into the crucible, then sprinkle precisely measured fulgurite dust. Into the molten mix 3 pinches, no more, no less. The metal rumbles in acceptance, and you watch for its voice, listening for that perfect resonance. Finally, you inscribe the arrowed bolt rune 3 times upon the metal surface with your spark, carving luminous glyphs that sizzle into the molten mass. You lift the crucible with spirit-tempered tongs and pour the incandescent mixture into the moonstone mold, each glowing droplet tracing the thunderbolt shape. Steam hisses. Forging smoke curls, and the hall's molten rivers roar in approval. When the bolt cools, you remove it and test its song with a tap of your hammer. The note rings clear, its deep and unwavering, resonant chord that fills the hall. With triumphant light, Hephaestus steps forward, molten sparks cascading from his hammer hands like fireworks. He clasps your shoulder with a hand of living metal. You have heard the storm's riddles and answered with wisdom, he rumbles. May your thunderbolt be the voice of Olympus. Then, with a final clang of his hammer, he dissolves into a swirl of molten shadow, leaving you alone in the steel hall bolt in hand. Destiny fulfilled. You awaken in the forge's cavern. Embers long since dimmed, but the bolt upon the anvil glows faintly with vibrato pulses of pale blue. The riddles have guided you to perfection. Alloy balanced, fulgurite tempered, runes inscribed. You smile, heart alight, knowing that the thunderbolt in your grasp carries both storm and song. Forged by mortal hands, tempered by divine counsel, and tuned to the very voice of Olympus itself. You settle onto the low stool beside the forge's apron, the newly tempered thunderbolt resting on a moss-lined slab at your side. All around you, the cavern hums in anticipation. Mars in the pit glow like distant fireflies. The floodgates. Chains hang ready to summon wind, and phosphorescent lichen flickers softly in time with your breathing. You cradle the hammer in your calloused hand and rest its head gently on the anvil's smooth surface, feeling the familiar coolness beneath your palm. Today's task isn't about raw force or spectacular sparks. It's about rhythm, nuance, and the quiet communion between your heartbeat and the hammer strike. You close your eyes and inhale deeply, aligning your pulse with the gentle roar of the forge. Each breath you draw sweeps warmth into your lungs, matches the ember's glow, and resonates in your chest like a primal drum. Then you tap the hammer's face, one soft and deliberate hand. Listen as the anvil sings back a gentle note. Thump, your heartbeat answers. Thump, it feels like an intimate conversation. Smith and metal. Human and hearth, united in a duet of creation. Historically, early Roman armories employed water-powered trip hammers, vertical shafts driven by wooden cams, lifted by millwright wheels so that a single operator could achieve a consistent hammer, rhythm far steadier than even the most disciplined hand. These trip hammers revolutionized large-scale bronze and iron production, but they also sparked debates about whether mechanization diminished the artistry of the smith's craft or simply amplified it. Opening your eyes, begin your first work cycle. You raise the hammer and bring it down with measured intent, aiming not for brute impact, but a sustaining melody. Thwack. Thwack. Each strike resonates through the anvil's length, sending vibrations up the hammer's handle and into your bones. With each blow, you feel a gentle electric thrill and echo of the spark that once crackled between your fingers. Your heartbeat accelerates to match the hammer's cadence, and for a moment, you become both conductor and instrument, guiding raw metal through a symphony of shape. An eccentric curiosity surfaces in medieval Japan. Master swordsmiths often recited soft low chants, or even foot-stomped in precise patterns while hammering their blades in early form of metronome to maintain consistent timing during critical forging phases. Some late-period smithing treatises even recommended humming folk songs to calm the smith's mind, believing mental focus translated directly into metal's molecular alignment. Whether these chants improved katana quality or simply helped smiths endure long hours at the forge remains a topic of fascination. You try humming a gentle tune, half a warbling flute melody you learn from the nymphand. Find it anchors your rhythm. Thwack, ch, he, mim, thwack, H-U-M-M. The hammer's head lands with a steady, heartbeat-like pulse, and the metal beneath shivers in response, subtly adjusting its form toward the bolt's final silhouette. You guide the hammer's arc, slight at first, then broader, coaxing the metal's edges to sharpen without fracturing. The interplay of sound, strike, and spark feels organic. Alive, a dance as old as the first mortal who dared shape lightning's image in bronze. Academic circles still debate the importance of auditory feedback in ancient metallurgy. Some metallurgists argue that ear training was the primary method for judging a metal's work hardening, stage recognizing subtle shifts in pitch as crystalline structures tightened, while others contend that color cues and tactile sensation were sufficient, relegating sound to mere byproduct. Your own experiment today seems to settle that debate in your mind when you pause to listen. The metal's song guides your technique more surely than sight alone. The Thunderbolts, jagged prongs glint in the forge light as you work your way down its length, hammering each branch with a steady beat. You experiment with subtle variations, a quick double tap to refine a corner, slower, heavier blow to relieve internal stress. Thwack, thwack, pause, thwack. With every strike, the metal's note evolves, once hollow, now full-bodied, once flat, now ringing with clarity. You smile, marveling at how the bolt itself seems to conduct the alloy's hidden harmonies. It's teaching you to strike in just the right spot and with just the right force. A stray wisp of steam curls from a recently quenched section, and you take a moment to draw it into your lungs. The vapor tastes of mineral water and ozone, a sensory bookmark marking. It's a transition from rough forging to meticulous refinement. You can almost see microscopic grains of alloy realigning beneath the surface, drawn into formation by the hammer's rhythm and your heartbeat's metronome. Midway through the bolt's final pass, you sense a subtle resistance, a hint that the metal's internal stresses need easing before it can sing its purest note. You pause, setting the hammer aside, and run a hand along the bolt's curve, feeling the heat and texture. Then, you close your eyes again, tune into the forge's voice, and resume your strikes with gentler precision. Thwack, thwack, humm, thwack. The subtle shift in tempo and force smooths out the metal's rough edges, both physical and sonic, until each tap yields the same clear, sustained tone. Encouraged, you stand fully, letting the bolt rest on the anvil's swallowtail notch. You take a slow step back, hammer in hand, and deliver a single, decisive strike at the bolt's central shank. The note that rings out is a pure, unwavering chord no crack. No echo, a fissure. Just the metal's true voice shining through. Sparks rain upward in a silent fireworks display, each speck illuminating the cavern's runes in brief, staccato harmony. You lay the bolt aside and listen as the echo fades into the forge's ambient hum. Your chest rises and falls, heartbeat easing back to normal. In that tranquil space, you realize you've not only shaped the Thunderbolt's edges, but even printed your own rhythm into its core, your pulse, your breath, and your spark. Woven into the alloy's memory, rising, you wrap the bolt in its leather sling, careful not to jostle its newly attuned symmetry. The hammer returns to its rack, its handle still warm where your hand lingered. You step away from the anvil and return to the forge's entrance, pausing to inhale the cavern's charged air. Everything feels calibrated: the wind, the embers, the very beat of your heart. The Thunderbolt in your grasp is not just a weapon. It's a living instrument poised to articulate the storms you will summon with steady steps. You climb the spiraling stair, each footfall echoing the steady cadence you struck on the anvil. The mountain's air grows cooler, the sky outside brightening with the promise of evening's first clouds. You emerge beneath the open heavens, Thunderbolt slung across your back like a lyre of lightning. Ahead lies the field where you will test its voice once more, this time in full storm's chorus. You tilt your head to the horizon and smile, knowing that your mastery of anvil and rhythm has forged not only metal, but the harmony between mortal will and storm's wild heart. With the forge's song still echoing in your bones, you step forward into the twilight, ready to conduct the sky's next great symphony. You stand on the crest of a gentle hill just beyond the forge, twilight's lavender glow softening the world around you. The air tingles with expectation, as if the very landscape waits to witness your ultimate act of creation. Clutched at your back in its leather sling is the Thunderbolt, its surface cold now, but thrumming faintly with latent power. At your feet lie the final fragments, tempered alloy bars, shards of crystalline stormglass, and the silver-tipped Virga courage component, perfected through trials of spark, hammer, and quench. Tonight, you will blend these elements in flawless harmony, forging a Thunderbolt worthy of Olympus itself. You kneel on the wind-carved stone, arranging the pieces in a circle as you did in the golden field of glowing shards. The wind slows to a hush, and you close your eyes, drawing in 6 measured breaths. The scent of pine resin, the tang of ozone, the whisper of grasses behind you, the distant echo of the forge's lichen-lit corridors, the cool caress of evening air, and the steady rhythm of your own pulse. With your senses aligned, you open your eyes and smile, fingertips tingling with purpose. A widely known fact comes to mind. During the Mycenaean period, circa 1600 to 1100 BCE, craftsmen combined copper with small amounts of arsenic to create arsenical bronze, harder and more durable than pure copper. Yet, the toxicity of arsenic required careful handling, leading to debates among archaeometallurgists about whether its use was a deliberate innovation or an accidental byproduct of smelting complex ores. You recognize a parallel here. Your own challenge is to blend elements that instinctively resist union yet yield magic when combined with care and understanding. You gather your tools. A shallow iron bowl warmed by residual embers you brought from the forge, a small ladle carved from driftwood, and the spirit-tempered hammer you use to tune the bolt song. Holding the bowl in one hand, you begin with the tempered alloy bar-3 pieces to represent earth, sky, and spirit. With a swift flourish, you draw your spark into your fingertips and touch each bar in turn. Tiny arcs dance along their edges, igniting them with the fire in your veins. You hear the alloy's response, a low bass note that resonates in your chest. Next, you take 3 shards of storm glass each, a frozen echo of a lightning strike hand. Crush them into fine powder with the driftwood ladle. The grains glimmer like stars in the bowl. As you stir, you whisper, balance, recalling the nymph's lesson that true power requires both respect and resonance. With each gentle swirl, the powder catches the soft light, releasing puffs of silvery dust that drift into the air like phosphorescent moths. An eccentric curiosity surfaces in Renaissance Venice. Glassmakers perfected a deep red ruby glass. By adding colloidal gold to molten silica, a process veiled in secrecy for centuries. The resulting glass shone with the glow of embers and was prized for both its beauty and its supposed magical properties. Some believed that wearing the glass warded off illness, while others simply sought its alchemical wonder. Whether for medicine or marvel, those Venetian artisans understood that tiny particles could profoundly transform molten substance. You sense a kinship with those ancient glassmakers, transmuting base materials into something both functional and enchanted. You reach into your satchel for the Vergacore sphere, placing it atop the alloy and glass mixture. Its surface ripples under your touch, reminding you of silver rain caught in the sky. With the ladle, you shave off a sliver of its surface, no more than a delicate feather, and drop it into the bowl. A soft hiss greets the addition, as if the essence of condensed storm recalls its birth in the cloud. The mixture pulses, and you see veins of pale blue thread through the molten metal like living lightning. Scholarly debate flits through your mind. Some modern metallurgists argue that adding trace quantities of volatile compounds like lead or boron to bronze provided better casting flow and sound dampening properties, while others claim such additives merely reflect regional or impurities rather than deliberate recipe choices. The evidence remains inconclusive, since ancient texts rarely specify precise formulas. Stu, you know from experience that the difference between brittle failure and resounding clarity lies in the smallest details. You lower the bowl toward the westering sun, its rays catching the mixture's surface in sparkling bursts. Drawing a final breath, you touch the spirit-tempered hammer to the bowl's rim. A chime-like tone rings out, clear and unwavering proof that the elements within have begun to sing in unison. Encouraged, you lift the bowl and pour its contents into the prepared iron crucible, warmed by embers you stoked moments before. The molten blend flows glistening silver and storm gray, laced with flickers of blue fire. The wind picks up again, eddying around you like an invisible audience. You take up the crucible with gloves woven from basalt fibers hit-resistant. Imbued with the mountain's memory and approach, your waiting bolt-shaped mold carved from moonstone. As you pour, you chant a simple refrain. In unity, power. In harmony, strength, sealing your intent into the forging. Each drop of molten thunder arcs into the mold, filling prongs and shank with shining. It's fluid that hisses softly as it cools. Now comes the moment of final perfection. You plant the MOLD upon a slab of cooled stone and raise the spirit hammer. Twice, thrice. Each strike is softer than the last, coaxing the bolt free of excess metal and sharpening its silhouette. Sparks burst in silent galaxies, painting the twilight air with brief glimmers. The bolt emerges, warm and alive, its veins of lightning glinting like captured moonlight. You cradle the thunderbolt in both hands, feeling its balanced weight and subtle pulse. It hums with potential, a living artifact of your journey across cave, sky, mountain, and forge. A distant rumble of real thunder rolls in from the horizon, as if the heavens themselves salute your achievement. You smile, breath catching in your throat. You've not only forged lightning's shape, you've woven its essence into a vessel of purpose and harmony. Standing, you lift the bolt overhead and present it to the sky. Pale blue arcs flicker along its length, then converge into a single spine of light that shoots upward, splitting dusk's violet veil. For a heartbeat, the world is suspended in pure electricity. Then the bolt crashes back down in a gentle roar, embedding in the hilltop before you and sending a cascade of glowing motes across the grass. You approach and gently withdraw the bolt, now glowing softly like dawn's first star. You sheath it in its leather wrap, every stitch humming with stormlight. It's under the settling dark, you trace your finger along the prongs, recalling each lesson that led you here. The cave's secret spark, the nymph's song, the forge's fires, Hephaestus's riddles, and the field's miniature storms. All have converged into this perfect alloy of metal and magic. With the final thunderbolt slung across your back, you descend the hill toward the sleeping forge below. Each footstep echoes with purpose. Each breath tastes of pine and rain. The world awaits the crack of your bolt, the roll of your thunder, and the symphony of storms you alone can conduct. In your hands lies the culmination of your destiny. A flawless thunderbolt, forged by diligent rhythms and tempered by wisdom, ready to herald the true voice of Olympus. You stand atop a windswept plateau, a stone's throw from the forge. The air at your back carrying the faint echo of dripping water and distant thunder. The thunderbolt you crafted rests solidly in your hand, its cold steel hum resonating with the suppressed might of the sky. Before you lies an open expanse, edged by jagged peaks that cradle low-hanging clouds. Tonight, you will put your masterpiece to its most ambitious test, summoning and shaping living storm clouds with your bolt's raw power. The wind picks up, swirling grasses into ripples that chase one another across the plateau like miniature tidal waves. You inhale deeply, tasting the ozon's bracing temps and the sweet pine resin on the breeze. A widely known fact, ancient Greek meteorologists observed that storms often arose when mountain slopes, heated by the sun, forced air upward. It's cooling into clouds a principle modern scientists recognize as orographic lift. Oh, you feel that lift? Beneath your feet. A subtle urging to join earth and sky in yesterday's dance of elements. You extend your arm, bolt pointed skyward, and channel your spark into its tip. A tendril of pale blue electricity crackles along its length, then leaps free, carving a narrow pillar of light into the gathering clouds. The bolt vibrates in your grip, humming like a tuning fork in resonance with unseen forces above. You hold the bolt steady as the electricity arcs upward, its tip aglow like a firebrand chiseling air itself. Moments later, a low rumble swells overhead. The clouds respond, coalescing into a roiling mass above the plateau. Gray, gull-wing shapes undulate, as if alive, shifting and thickening with every heartbeat. You step forward, planting your boots firmly into the grass, and feel the wind swirl at your heels in anticipation. An eccentric curiosity comes to mind. Early Roman augurs once burnt incense on mountaintops to ignite small cloud puffs, believing the fragrant smoke would seed rain, an idea they called cloud calling, though their method was more prayer than physics. You now wield the lightning to shape true storm clouds, rather than smoke's illusion. You close your eyes and attune to the storm's silent song, the distant rumble, the whisper of wind across rocky ridges, the pulse of accumulating moisture. You lift the bolt higher and trace slow circles in the air. With each rotation, the cloud base dips and swirls, gathering in response like molten lead drawn by magnets. When you open your eyes, the clouds have thickened into a swirling bowl overhead, with silver linings that glow against the darkening sky. You lower your arm and tap the bolt's shank with the hammer's butt, sending a single echoing note into the night. The clouds jerk in sympathy, their underbellies rippling as if you've struck a great subterranean drum. A faint lightning glow flickers at the cloud center, then brightens to a full arc that scratches across the sky your mark, made manifest on a canvas of living vapor. You step into the storm's locus, letting the wind buffet your cloak and fling your hair into a wild banner. The bolt's hum intensifies in your grip, matching the thunder's roll in the distance. You raise the bolt overhead and bring it down in a deliberate arc. A bolt of lightning flashes from its tip into the cloud base, striking deep and splitting. The mass rain begins to fall in glittering sheets, each drop illuminated from within by residual stormlight, sparkling like scattered gemstones at your feet. Rather than fleeing, you spread your arms wide and guide the rain shaft with gentle motions, first downwind, then in a spiral, shaping it into a swirling vortex of luminous droplets. The cloud mass shifts accordingly, moving as though tethered to your gestures. You sense its weight and rhythm, an intimate dance partner molded by your will. A scholarly debate drifts through your mind. Modern meteorologists classify waterspouts as vortexes formed over water from existing clouds. Yet your creation is a land-born vortex born of directed lightning. The underlying physics spin, pressure differentials, its condensation remain similar, but your method bypasses natural triggers, crafting storms by electrical invitation rather than chance. You pivot, leading the rain vortex across the plateau. In your wake, the grass is soaked in glowing droplets that evaporate into silver mist moments later. Up ahead, a jagged stand of boulders offers a natural amphitheater for your storm's showcase. You advance into the circle, and the vortex follows, encircling you in a shimmering tunnel of mist and electric light. The Thunderbolts' current pulses. You draw forth another bolt of lightning that forks across the cloud base, carving a branching pattern that glows long after the flash. Each branch generates puffs of cloud in its wake, building out the storm's complexity. You step forward, letting each lightning stroke shape the storm's architecture until the sky above you is a living sculpture of rolling cylinders, spirals, and billowing forms. Then, with a final tap of your hammer on the bolt's shank, you release the storm entirely. The vortex erupts upward, shooting into the heavens like a glass-clear pillar. The rain transforms into a silver cascade that dissolves into the cloud mass, feeding it further. The thunder that follows is as deep as a cathedral gong, resonating through your bones and the plateau's bedrock alike. Your chest heaves with exhilaration. You lower the bolt and let the storm swirl away, dissipating gently as you redirect its core currents skyward. The clouds recede, scattering in wisps that drift beyond the horizon. In the still aftermath, a hush settles over the plateau, a silence so profound it feels sacred. You exhale, tasting the rain's metallic residue and the lingering ozone on your lips. The world around you shimmers with pent-up energy as though awaiting the next conductor's gesture. You've not only summoned a storm, but sculpted it into art, commanding wind, water, and lightning in perfect union. As the last echoes of thunder fade into the night, you sheath the thunderbolt and sheath your own excitement. Sky above remains clear, the clouds pulled back like curtains after a grand performance. Beneath your feet, the grasses glisten under moonlight, mottled with damp patterns that recall the storm's dance. Satisfied, you turn and head back toward the forge. Each footstep guided by the plateau's whisper, that storms bow to the will of one who listens and shapes. That lightning's fury can be tempered into beauty. With the storm cloud trial complete, you carry within you the knowledge that the next sky you split will remember your hand in its very breath. You stand beneath a vaulted sky, the air still humming with the aftershocks of the storm you shaped. The plateau's grasses glisten under a blanket of moonlight, each blade tipped with dew that refracts the world into a million pinprick stars. In your hand, the thunderbolt feels alive, its prongs faintly warm, resonating with the promise of thunder's true roar. Tonight, you will unleash that roar, transforming silent potential into resonant power that will echo across the mountains, valleys alike. Raising the bolt high, you inhale deeply, tasting the metallic temps of ozone and pine resin on the breeze. You recall a widely known fact. In the ancient world, observers recognized that thunder followed lightning by a delay proportional to distance and insight. Hippocrates noted around 400 BCE, using it to estimate storm ranges. That principle guides you now. The thunderbolt's crack must bridge sight and sound, uniting them in a single. It's a majestic exclamation. Your spark ignites along the bolt's shaft with a soft crackle, its trailing electric filaments that dance like silver vines. You pivot, synchronizing your heart's pulse with the natural rhythm of the night wind rustling. Distant drip of water, the plateau's gentle creak. Then, with a deliberate exhale, you hurl the Thunderbolt skyward in one fluid motion, unleashing its pent-up charge with perfect timing. The bolt arcs in brilliant slow motion, a streak of living light that splits the moonlit canvas. As it reaches its apex, a thunderclap detonates a deep, rolling boom that seems to originate not above, but within your own chest. The sound ripples outward, warping the air in visible shockwaves that radiate across the plateau like ripples on a dark pond. You feel the boom in your bones, a visceral anthem that affirms your mastery of shape and sound. An eccentric curiosity springs to mind. Medieval bell founders in Europe tuned massive church bells by removing metal from specific points inside the casting, a practice called tuning by removal, so that each bell's overtones harmonized with the others. They believed that a well-tuned peal could ward off storms or summon divine favor. Though bells and thunderbolts differ, both hinge on the art of crafting sound from metal. As the echo fades, you watch the bolts after a mage shimmer in the sky, then dissolve into motes of light that drift back toward the earth like fireflies returning home. But the bolt's purpose is not yet complete. With a swift, graceful sweep of your arm, you draw its electric trail into a spiraling vortex of charged air. The vortex spins overhead, condensing into a glowing ring of storm cloud-tinted steel gray. It's outlined by electric blue veins that pulse in time with your heartbeat. You step forward, its hands raised to shape the ring's diameter with subtle gestures. Thumbs brushing inward, narrow its girth, fingers splayed outward, expand its embrace. As you sculpt, the ring responds, each adjustment causing thunder to vibrate deeper and lightning to arc brighter along its edges. The result is a living crown of storm, hovering above you as if ready to crown you Storm King. A scholarly debate surfaces. Atmospheric scientists still discuss the exact mechanisms of thunder's rumble. Some attribute it to the rapid expansion of superheated air along the entire lightning channel, while others propose that segmented channels create distinct shockwaves that merge into a rolling echo. Your crafted ring, however, demonstrates both theories in action. Each filament crackles to life, sending layered booms that overlap into a grand, textured roar. Feeling the storm's power resonate in your bones, you let the ring descend in a controlled spiral toward a nearby rocky outcrop. With a fluid motion, you guide it around the boulder's curve. It's forging a pathway of crackling energy that outlines its contours. This point where the ring's edge touches stone sends a sharp clap like a drumbeat on stone that anchors the thunder's melody into the world itself. You imagine concertgoers in an amphitheater marveling at this sonic sculpting, the rocks themselves amplifying and refracting your thunder into rhythmic pattern. A soft hum of electricity in your veins urges you onward. You step away from the boulder and clap your hands, sending a final snap of lightning across the ring. The thunderclap that follows is the loudest yet, ton alpha and omega, booming in a single breath. Your ears ring with the resonance, and the ground beneath your feet quivers in response. In that moment, you're not merely a wielder of Thunderbolt. You are thunder incarnate, your will manifested in rolling sound and living light. The plateau around you reverberates with the echoes of your command, and even distant peaks answer in muted reply. The night sky shivers, acknowledging the storm's new conductor. Your chest heaves with exhilaration. The thunderbolt lies spent but potent. In your grasp, its blue veins now dimmed to a steady glow. You sheath it slowly, savoring the final tremors of its power. The air calms, the grass settles, and the moon resumes its silent watch, as if honoring a performance complete. You breathe deeply, tasting victory on the night air. Your journey from curious spark in a hidden cave to master of thunder culminates in this expansive roar, an eternal echo etched into rock and sky. With one final nod of gratitude to the elements you've shaped, you turn toward the forge's distant silhouette, each step lighter from the triumph that still hums in your bones as you descend the hill. The night holds its breath, the world waiting for your next command. For now, though, the thunder's roar you unleashed will carry across valleys and ridges, a herald of your storm-made legacy, proclaiming to Olympus and beyond that the true Storm King has arrived. You descend the winding path from the plateau, its heart still thrumming with the memory of your thunder's roar. Until at the cavern's mouth, you see them gathered, Your hidden siblings, cloaked in shadow and candlelight, each bearing their own bolt-shaped artifacts. They stand in a loose semicircle, faces illuminated by phosphorescent moss and the faint glow of stored stormlight. At the center, the first figure you met smiles a warm, knowing curve of lips that feels like coming home. You cradle your perfected Thunderbolt at your side, anticipation fluttering in your chest like trapped birds. Stepping forward, you let the cavern's hush envelop you. The air tastes of ozone and damp stone, a familiar comfort after the plateaus. Wild wind? You raise your bolt in greeting, fingertips tracing the Virga veins that glow softly under the lichen's luminescence. One by one, your siblings lift their own creations. A twin-forked bolt carved from pure bronze, a slender spark rod studded with cloud essence orbs, a whip-like lightning cable woven from electric glass strands. Each weapon pulses with a unique rhythm, a signature of its maker's journey and mastery. A widely known fact emerges in your mind. Greek mythology often describes Zeus's siblings Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestias, sharing dominion over the world's realms. See? Underworld, marriage, harvest, and hearth. Tonight, you unite under a shared call. Mastery of storms. Your bolt's deep hum resonates against the cave walls, and your siblings' weapons answer in kind, creating a rising chorus of crackles and echoes. You step into the circle, holding your Thunderbolt vertically before you like a scepter. Siblings, you begin, voice steady. We've each walked our secret path, some through fire, some through water, some beneath the earth. Yet tonight, we stand together as kin of storm and sky. Your words echo among the arches, weaving a tapestry of shared purpose. The eldest sibling steps forward, a lithe figure whose bolt is crowned with frost-tipped crystals and presses their tip against yours. Sparks leap between the two, weaving a brief filament of steel-blue lightning that dances before dissipating. It's a greeting, a recognition of kinship, and it sends warmth through your veins. An eccentric curiosity surfaces in archaic cult practices. Siblings of royal families sometimes swore blood pacts at dawn on mountain peaks, using goat's blood to seal alliances before great battles. While no blood is shed here, your bolt's electric handshake binds you in a pact of power and protection. You smile at the thought. Your craft is nobler, your vows stronger for lacking sacrifice. The second sibling, whose cable bolt crackles with neon arcs, raises their weapon and traces patterns in the air-jagged S-shapes that spell a silent greeting in Storm Rune. You catch the rune's shape and respond with a horizontal slash of your bolt, a mirrored rune that completes the symbol. Together, your strokes form the ancient emblem of unity. Two lightning forks align tip to tip. Historians still debate whether such runic markings on Minoan seal stones were proto-writing or symbolic magic intended to invoke divine favor. Yet here, their potency is undeniable in your shared exchange. At the cavern's far end, the youngest figure kneels before a shallow pool, its surface shimmering with phosphor drips from stalactites. They dip their bolt's tip into the water, creating concentric ripples that glow like miniature moons. You join them, submerging your own bolt, and watch as the runes etched along the shafts fill with luminescent water. The ripples overlap, forming a radiant web of storm motifs across the pool's surface, a living testament to your collective bond. The water's electric glow intensifies, then settles into a gentle hum that echoes around your chests in unison. One sibling steps forward and places a hand on your shoulder, their voice soft as wind chimes. We are storm bearers, they say, each forged by different trials, yet bound by the same breath of lightning. You nod, feeling the weight of their words resonate in your spine. In that moment, you realize your journey has always led to this reunion, to forge not only weapons of thunder, but alliances of kinship that will shape the fate of Olympus. An academic debate flickers in your thoughts. Some scholars argue that mythic sibling coalitions, like the Olympian Alliance against the Titans, reflect ancient social orders where ruling families forged strategic alliances through marriages and pacts. Others maintain these stories were purely allegorical, teaching moral lessons about unity against chaos. Here, however, your gathered siblings embody both history and myth, living proof that unity tempers raw power into collective strength. You, Step back and raise your bolt once more, addressing the circle. Tonight, you proclaim, we claim our roles not as lone heirs, but as a storm-forged family. Together, our thunder will crack, not as solitary roars, but as harmonized chorus. That even Olympus will heed. A thunderous rumble answers your vow, low and rolling, as if the cave itself applauds in the flickering grotto light. Each sibling pounds their bolt shaft against the stone floor in cadence boon boon, 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 creating a primal drumbeat that resonates through the chamber. You join in, forging a storm beat like distant thunder, each strike a heartbeat in the storm's chorus. Sparks scatter at your feet, drifting into the pool's luminous web and causing waves of light to cascade across the cave walls. When the final beat thunders into silence, you and your siblings stand shoulder to shoulder, bolts raised high. You pant from exertion, cheeks flush with excitement, but your eyes shine with shared purpose. The camaraderie is electric, a living current, tying your hearts as one as you sheath your bolt. It's the eldest sibling offers. Let us walk together too, Olympus, for no single thunderbolt can claim the sky alone. The youngest nods, eyes alight with determination, while the cable bearer wraps an arm around your shoulder in solidarity. You feel the warmth of their support, stronger than any ember-fed forge. Together, you descend the cavern stairway, emerging beneath a sky strewn with stars and veiled wisps of cloud. The night is hushed, the world waiting for your collective command. Above, the constellations of gods and heroes watch silently as they have since time immemorial, bearing witness to this gathering of storm-born kin. With feet planted firmly on earth and bolts at the ready, you stride forward, no longer a solitary child forging a legend, but a sibling in a tempest-forged family, united in thunder, bound by lightning, and destined to claim Olympus's storm throne as one. You stand at the foot of a mist-shrouded track that winds upward toward Olympus's foothills, your siblings flanking you on left and right. The night air is cool, carrying the faint scent of blooming oleander and distant sea salt from the Aegean. Each of you bears a Thunderbolt unique instruments forged through trials of spark, wind, fire, and rhythm. Yet tonight, you move as one orchestra ascending to the grandest amphitheater of all. Your heart thrums in your chest like a timpani, matching the collective pulse of your siblings' anticipation. Ahead, the worn stones of the ancestral path glow under moonlight, their surfaces smoothed by countless feet of pilgrims past. A widely known fact, ancient Greeks believed the peak of Olympus to be shrouded in impenetrable clouds, home only to the gods, inaccessible to mortals. Tonight, united by divine lineage and stormlit craft, you prepare to shatter that barrier. You lead the way, each footstep measured and confident. The youngest sibling's cable bolt hums softly, echoing off the sacred stones. The bronze-forked bolt and glass-whipped sibling flanked either side, weaving arcs of faint light in the air. Your own thunderbolt, its Virga veins pulsing in pale blue, rests comfortably in your grasp, a scepter of living storm. The path steepens, and tufts of hardy thyme and heather brush against your calves, their fragrance mingling with the metallic ozone on your breath. An eccentric curiosity surfaces in medieval Europe. Mountain guides sometimes carried iron crosses to pierce fog and reveal hidden paths, believing metals' conductive properties could clear spirits from the air. Though today's meteorologists dismiss such talismanic use, your thunderbolts truly pierce the cloud barrier ahead, promising passage where none existed before. As you crest the final incline, a wall of cloud looms before you, dense, opalescent. Fog swirling like restless spirits. Your siblings fall silent, eyes fixed on the swirling veil that has sealed Olympus for eons. You raise your bolt and call upon your spark, drawing energy until the prongs glow like twin crescent moons. With a decisive thrust, you drive the bolt into the cloud's heart. Electric filaments erupt, carving a jagged portal through the mist. Lightning arcing to stabilize the new opening. Thunder rumbles from within the cloud wall. It's a celestial growl, as if the sky itself questions your audacity. You cup your hands and whisper a coaxing mantra, soft, rhythmic syllables learned from the nymph's flute melody, inviting rather than demanding entry. the stormlight pulses in synchrony with your heartbeat. At your signal, the portal widens, revealing a silvery ledge carved of living cloud. Your siblings step forward without hesitation, their bolts forming a lattice of storm-forged runes that holds the passage open. Together, you enter the cloud portal. The world shifts. Soft vapors cushion your footsteps, and the light diffuses. Into a pearlescent glow, you pass beneath arches of shifting mist, each arch inscribed with fleeting patterns of lightning. Scholar meteorologists debate whether lenticular clouds sung as winds flowed over alpine peaks. But here, the arches resonate with each bolt's echoan aural gateway as much as a physical one at the portal's end. You emerge onto Olympus's summit plateau, a vast expanse of alabaster stone veined with gold and silver, ringed by thundercloud ribbons curling like living draperies. Before you stands a circle of 12 towering pillars, each carved with the sigils of ancient gods. The air fills with low vibrations, thunder's aftertones mingling with the plateau's electric charge. It's a stage of epic scale, worthy of your storm-chiseled authority. The eldest sibling steps forward, pressing a frost-tipped bolt to the central pillar. A ripple of cold mist travels up the column, crystallizing its carvings in glacial patterns. Up, the column hums, then brightens as though awakened. Next, you approach and lay your thunderbolt against the stone. Pale blue veins flare, sending arcs. Across the pillar's surface that trace lightning runes in living light. The stone responds with a resonant chord of thunderclap, felt more than heard, vibrating through your bones and amplifying your presence. This act of ritual striking evokes the rites of Hellenistic inaugurations, where kings rested scepters on altars to claim divine favor. Those scholars argue whether those rites were political pageantry or genuine mystical transfers of power. Now, in this pinnacle ceremony, you claim the storm's sovereignty for all time. Your siblings join in, each placing their bolt against successive pillars. Its bronze fork meets pillar 2. Glass whip touches pillar 3, and so forth, teach contact. Weaving a network of storm artistry across the summit, and all 12 pillars glow with unified stormlight. The plateau itself seems to pulse in triumph, as though Olympus has awakened from its eons-long slumber. A crescendo of thunder rolls. Across the sky, an ovation that shakes loose motes of stardust from above. You step to the center of the circle, thunderbolt raised high. The moon peeks through parting clouds, spotlighting you in brilliant silver. Children of storm and sky, you declare, voice echoing in the vaulted heavens, we claim our dominion, as masters of thunder, heirs to lightning's might, and kin of gods themselves. Let Olympus tremble at our thunder. The thunderbolt flares, one final brilliant arc that cleaves the moonbeam into dancing fragments in the hush that follows. Your siblings latch arms with you, forming a human chain bound by shared power and purpose. The pillar's stormlight coalesces into a dome of living cloud overhead, sheltering you in a vault of electric shimmer. It's a coronation more profound than any crown. You are crowned Storm King, not by metal circlet, but by the very storm you command. As you gaze across Olympus's timeless expanse, you feel the hum of thunder in your blood and the resonance of your bolt in your soul. Your journey from secret cave spark to crowned sovereign culminates in this moment of unity, power, and kinship. The world below waits to tremble at your command. The gods themselves watch in reverence. You stand ready, thunderbolt and siblings at your side, to shape the storms of fate with every crackle, every roll, every electrifying decree. You stand at the very edge of Olympus's summit plateau, the world unfurling in a tapestry of mountain ridges, forested valleys, and distant silver seas. The stormlight dome above you pulses gently, a living reminder of the night's coronation. Around you, your siblings a circle of storm-born kin watch with awe and pride. Your thunderbolt rests lightly in your hand, its prongs still warm with the echo of Olympus's breath. Tonight, you've claimed the sky's throne, but your journey is far from over. Ahead stretches the horizon of future storms and tamed symphonies, awaiting your command. A soft breeze stirs the air, carrying the scent of early morning dew from the heights below. You lift your bolt and trace a slow arc across the sky, imagining the grooves you'll carve into every cloud that drifts into your domain. With each gesture, you feel the potential of countless storms coalescing in the atmosphere and network, of clouds, winds, and lightning currents poised to become your next compositions. The mountains themselves seem to lean in, eager for the next overture. Your first siblings, Bronze Fork and Glass Whip, step forward to demonstrate their own futures. The bronze bolt ignites a spark that cracks through low-hanging mist, shaping a spiral of wind that dances across the plateau's stones. Nearby, the lightning cable weaves streaks of neon arcs into the mist, creating a living tapestry of light. Their experiments echo your earlier trials, proof that mastery of one element opens countless paths to creative stormcraft. You turn to the youngest sibling, who lifts a rod of storm glass and raises it to the sky. They whisper an incantation taught by Hephaestus' spirit, and a gentle shower of luminescent rain begins to fall, each drop carrying the promise of growth and renewal. The plants clinging to Olympus's cliffs glisten, their leaves quivering in gratitude. It's a reminder that storms are not only destructive, but life-giving. That your command over thunder must balance power with purpose. A widely known fact resurfaces in your mind. Greek farmers revered gentle summer storms for their life-giving rains, performing rituals to honor Zeus Ambrios, the rainbringer, hoping to coax timely showers for their crops. You smile, knowing that your future storms will blend nurturing showers with dramatic displays. That each thunderclap can be both art and blessing. As dawn's first light brushes the eastern sky, you gather your siblings close and raise your bolts in unison. You speak the words of promise you shaped in your heart during that first flicker of lightning in the cave. We are storm bearers, architects of sky and rain. Let our future be written not only in roars of thunder and forks of lightning, but in the life they impart, the balance they maintain, and the wonder they inspire. Your voice carries across the plateau, clear and resonant like a temple choir. Distant rumble answers neither too loud nor too softer, perfect reply. Clouds breach the dome overhead, coalescing into soft cumulus shapes that drift lazily, as if awaiting your next cue. You gesture gently, finger tracing runes in the air. And the clouds respond by gathering into rolling pillows of white, edged in gold by the rising sun. Each sibling adds their spark to the mix. A copper-hued flicker here, violet flash there, weaving a kaleidoscope of storm possibilities. You envision the storms to come. A dawn thunderstorm whose gentle rain will nourish mountain springs, followed by a midday show of cloud-to-cloud lightning that will light up hidden valleys, and a twilight spectacle of whirling hail that will play a crystalline percussion on rooftops below. You see your storms in sequences, movements in a grand ballet of meteorology, every step choreographed by your bolt's guiding light. The plateau's wind stirs once more, wrapping around your cloak like an embrace. You close your eyes to taste its subtle notes, the salt of distant seas, the sweet pine stem, the ozone whiff of recent lightning, and store that sensory memory in your mind's vault. These sensations will inform your future creations, ensuring each storm carries the signature of its place and purpose. Your thoughts drift to the mortals living far below. It's unaware of the siblings who command the sky's forces. You imagine them? Pausing in daily tasks to marvel at patterns of rainbows born from your gentle showers. Or pausing work to witness lightning forks sculpted by your hand. Their hearts will catch in their chests, and children will rush outdoors, pointing and shouting. As your thunderbolts light the sky like celestial fireworks, an academic debate surfaces. Meteorologists still discuss whether storms should be guided, or simply predicted, whether humanity's hand in weather can be responsible or reckless. You know your storms will be guided with reverence, each crafted with intention and respect for the balance between sky and earth. You turn to your siblings, faces alight in the dawn glow. Together, you step into the center of the pillar circle. Bolts raised high. The stormlight dome shimmers one last time in response to your shared promise. You clasp hands, bonding the past's trials with tomorrow's hopes. In unity, you intone, we will shape the storms of the future storms that heal, storms that inspire, storms that echo the harmony between mortal will and divine fury. Our thunder will be our word, our lightning, our signature, and our storms the living poems of Olympus. A final rumble rolls across the heights of benediction, a benignant promise carried on the air. You and your siblings lower your bolts, leaving the Stormlight Dome in a gentle fade. The dawn breaks in earnest, washing Olympus in warm gold and pink. As you descend from the summit, each step feels lighter, buoyed by the certainty that your legacy will extend far beyond a single triumph. You are not only masters of thunder, but keepers of a tradition that will shape every rising cloud and falling. It's dropped for generations to come, with the promise of future storms singing in your veins, in the companionship of your siblings beside you. You walk toward the horizon ready to compose, the symphonies of weather that will forever change the world beneath the sky you command. The wind settles into a gentle whisper as you find a quiet ledge overlooking the world below. The soft light of dawn paints the horizon in hues of rose and gold, and your heartbeat slows to match the steady rhythm of a world awakening. Feel the warmth of the morning sun on your skin, a soft caress that soothes the intensity of your journey. Each breath you draw carries the crisp fragrance of pine and the lingering essence of rain. It's grounding you in this peaceful moment as you inhale. Imagine drawing in serenity. As you exhale, let go of any lingering tension. The vast landscape before you stretches in rolling blues and greens, live with the promise of gentle showers and distant thunder. Clouds drift lazily across the sky, their edges tinged with light. Shaped by your hands, yet free to wander. It's balance between guiding and releasing's the heart of your power. And it resides now in the calm that fills your chest. Close your eyes and listen. The world hums softly with life birds greeting. The new day leaves rustling in a hush, water trickling from hidden springs. In this symphony of subtle sounds, you find a lullaby. Picture the mountains breathing in unison, valleys exhaling a sigh of contentment, and the sky stretching its canvas to welcome each fresh storm you will one day shape. Your thunderbolt rests at your side, its weight a comforting reminder of the forces you've mastered and the responsibility you carry. Yet here, in this serene dawn, it is simply metal, cooled and still, a silent partner in your journey toward harmony. Allow yourself to sit in quiet gratitude for every spark that guided you, every hammer strike that shaped you, and every lesson that tempered you. The gentle breeze returns to dance across your cheeks, as soft as a mother's touch. Let it whisper of the storms yet to come, storms that will bring life-giving rain. Awe-inspiring light shows and the sweet music of thunder, rolling across open fields. Each future storm is a canvas awaiting your brush, a poem waiting for your voice. And now, in this tranquil moment, you are both artist and listener, poised between stillness and motion. As the final notes of dawn's lullaby fade, open your eyes to the world's soft glow. Carry this calm with you, a reservoir of peace that will anchor you through every thunderous trial ahead. Your journey continues, but for now, surrender to the gentle embrace of dawn. Let your pulse slow to the land's quiet rhythm, and remember, even in thunder, there is rest, and even in storms, there is always calm.